Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023, and this is a regular meeting of the City of Asbury Park Planning Board. Vice Chair Goonan, will you please call this meeting to order?
Yep. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Oakland Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this board: 900 to 901 Madison and 700 Monroe Avenue. Fire exits are located on the east and west sides of the council chambers as well as the back of the building. I will ask everyone with a cell phone or other device to kindly silence your device for the duration of this meeting. This meeting is recorded by APTV. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take roll call. James Bonanno is recused. Councilwoman Clayton.
Here.
Eric Gallipo.
here.
Jim Henry.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
Daniel Shenameo.
Here.
Jennifer Souter.
Here.
Pedro Travella is absent today. Vice Chair Mike Goonan.
Here.
And Chairwoman Barbara Kurzak is absent today.
All right. So the first thing we have on the agenda today is we just have to discuss quickly the 2024 meeting schedule for the planning board. I know Marie circulated it around. Has everyone had a chance to take a quick look at it? And if so, are there any dates that look specifically problematic for anybody? Okay.
I was hoping we'd only have one meeting in August and cancel the second meeting.
Cancel the second meeting? I know the zoning board does the same, so that's definitely something if you only want to have one meeting in August.
Sounds good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was up for discussion. Barbara suggested it as well, so it was more, okay, we'll figure that out.
Fair general agreement, one meeting in August?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
okay.
And if there's any dates anyone knows they're going to be absent, just let Marie know so we can make sure we have a quorum for every meeting. Great. Next thing on the agenda is we have two resolutions to go through. The first is the State of New Jersey Electric Vehicle Ordinance. Does anyone on the board or any of our professionals have any comments on that ordinance before we vote on it? Anybody? EV ordinance?
Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution about the EV ordinance?
So. Second.
Motion is Daniel, second is Jim. Okay. James Bonanno recused. Councilwoman Clayton.
Yes.
Eric Gallipo.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Daniel Shenameo.
Yes.
Jennifer Souter.
Yes.
Vice Chair Mike Goonan.
Yes.
Motion, resolution is passed.
All right. And the next resolution we have to vote on is the resolution memorializing the adoption of an amendment to the Asbury Park Housing and Fair Share Plan. The only thing I had to say is on the title of this resolution, it says the Arts and Culture Plan element. We just have to make sure it says
I will,
Asbury Park Housing Element and Fair Share Plan.
that will be fixed, yes.
Does anybody have anything else on that resolution before we vote on it? All right, excellent. Can I get a motion to approve?
So. Second. Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Clayton.
Yes.
Eric Gallipo.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Daniel Shenameo.
Yes.
Jen Souter.
Yes.
Vice Chair Mike Goonan.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next, moving on, we have two applications on the agenda for tonight. First one, I think we can go through pretty quickly, 900 Madison Avenue.
This is, I would assume, the Den Halls.
Yes.
Andrew Karras on behalf of the applicant. We're going to ask that this be carried. My client is making revisions to the plans that are not yet ready. I don't know when they are going to be ready, so why don't we just adjourn it without date, and then I will renotice the application. Of course, I'll consent, and the timeframes be the times.
Jack did make one note. He just wanted to make sure that when we do renotice that we pull a new list.
Oh, you have to.
So
It
yeah,
has to be
just to make sure. Okay.
And the other thing, just when it's scheduled, just make sure, because Jack heard the original one. So just make sure it's the night that Jack's.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so,
Can we have a motion to carry this application for 900 Madison to a future date?
So moved. Second. And that's with the understanding you're going to renotice?
Yes.
okay, and with the extension of time as well. So, okay, and Councilwoman Clayton.
Abstain.
Keep forgetting that part. Eric Gallipo.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Daniel Shinameo.
Yes.
Jen Souter.
Yes.
Vice Chair Mike Goonan.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And with that, you agreed to an extension of time.
Yeah,
Yes.
he did mention that.
And then our next application is 700 Monroe Avenue.
Andrew Karras, we have the applicant. We are continuing with this application. I believe we were last here in May, if I am correct. We've made significant revisions to the plan. Let me just first put my name on the record, and then I'll go through just a brief overview of the application, and we'll get right to the testimony with regard to the revisions. Andrew Karras from the firm Fox Rothschild, on behalf of the applicant, Monroe Avenue Realty LLC, the property 700 Monroe Avenue, Block 2503, lots 1 to 5. Application is for preliminary and final major site plan approval. Existing commercial building, vacant lots are currently on the site. For the board's notification or edification, it is in the Main Street development area, the commercial shopping zone. What my client is proposing, as the board may recall, is a 5-story mixed-use building having what has now been original 61 residential units. We're now coming up to plan of 52 residential units, including 20% affordable for the project. With that, I'm going to go right into the testimony. We have our engineer, Joe, is going to come up. We have him sworn in, put his name on the record. I'll follow up.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you can just state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Certainly. Joseph Mele, M-E-L-E, with the firm Mid-Atlantic Engineering Partners.
Did he get qualified before? I don't know.
You haven't testified before, right, for this
I don't
application,
believe
right?
so.
I
I
don't
was
think
here,
so.
but we didn't have to testify, I believe.
Joe, can you please give the board the benefit of your qualification?
Certainly. I'm a professional engineer, professional land surveyor, and professional planner, licensed in the state of New Jersey, and a professional engineer in other states. I've testified well over 100 times, maybe 150 times throughout the state of New Jersey as a professional engineer, land surveyor, and planner. And I'm also serving on the planning board in my town for the past 15 years as vice chairman. I serve on the master plan committee and the environmental commission as well in my town,
And your testimony this evening will be based on?
with respect to engineering only.
Engineering only.
Yes.
Right, please proceed.
There you go. Joe, you've had the opportunity to make revisions to the plans that previously have been submitted by Mid-Atlantic, am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. Why don't we identify those plans and we're going to mark them. I believe we are up to A11, am I correct?
I believe you are correct, yes.
Identify these with the last revision date, and they'll be A11 for identification.
Certainly, it's a preliminary and final major site plan set of plans, engineering plans, prepared by Mid-Atlantic Engineering Partners, 700 Monroe Avenue, Block 2503, lots 1 through 5, and it's a 14-sheet site plan set. The original date is January 14th, 2022, and the plans are last revised August 28th, 2023.
That'll be marked as A11 for identification.
Thank
Joe, can you please go through the plans and highlight those revisions that were made subsequent to the last hearing?
Sorry, just getting used to this laptop here. Oh, with that, yes, okay. Okay, so as was generally introduced at the beginning of this presentation, in general, the proposed, should I go through the existing conditions at all?
Sure.
Or- Yeah, okay, thanks.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, so to refresh, and a lot of familiar faces here. I was at a prior planning board meeting, but had no need to testify, so I recognize a few of the faces here. In general, the site is an amendment, as you know, to a prior application. The site's located on the southeast corner of Monroe and Main Street. You can see the site highlighted on the cover sheet of the site plan application package. It is a corner lot, and it's located in the Main Street redevelopment area in the community shopping zone. The site's only a quarter or less than a quarter mile from the train station, known as obviously 700 Monroe Avenue, 5 lots, lots 1 through 5 in block 2503. And the site has about 0.34 acres. That's about almost 15,000 square feet in area. And you could see on our cover sheet the frontage that is along Monroe versus the frontage along Main Street. The Monroe Street frontage is about 217 feet long and 50 feet of frontage on Main Street. And you can see also that it's an L-shaped lot. The larger L shape is adjacent to other properties, and it extends about 100 feet into the site adjacent to those other neighbors. Monroe is a two-way with parking on both sides, and Main is also a two-way with parking on both sides and a dedicated bike lane on each direction as well. The site is predominantly already improved with various site features like an existing building. It has paved areas, concrete areas. There's a small area of lawn, and I'll flip to the, this is the existing conditions and demolition plan. You can see the site is pretty much cleared of improvements except for the building, and then there are paved areas and such. There are 3 curb cuts along Monroe, and there's 1 large curb cut on Main Street. And you'll hear in our proposed testimony, the application after it's all said and done will have only 1 curb cut, and it'll be pretty far away from the intersection of Main Street. So it'll be out in this area towards the right side of the plan, as you would see it.
Before you go ahead, did we receive these site plans?
Yes.
Were
You
they part
did.
of our package? Okay. I didn't get this version. Okay, go ahead. No.
Did you need me to repeat anything?
No,
Or is
just
that
go
okay?
ahead.
Okay. So again, going through the changes in general from I guess, high level, the reduction from 60 units down to 52 units was already stated. The reduction in floor area from the prior plan from 58,489 square feet down to 47,181 square feet, so a reduction in the floor area. We're also now providing a rear yard setback, and I'll flip to the 3rd page in our site plan set. So you could at least see the building envelope kind of grayed out on this site plan, and where that L shape is where you could see the setbacks that we now accommodate that in the prior plan we did not. So we have about a little over a 3-foot setback along the rear area. We did reduce the building coverage from 99 on the prior plan down to 92.7, and we reduced the impervious coverage down from 100, so the prior application was 100% impervious, and we reduced it down to 93.6. And we also reduced the penthouse area, which I'm sure our architect would speak more to on the building components. We increased the commercial space slightly. It was 990 square feet, and we bumped that up, which is something that obviously I'm sure the city would want more commercial space, a little over 1,000 square feet. And one of the main things is adding the trash room to the building. Prior application building did not have a trash room, and now on the top right side of the building, you could see a fairly large, in the context of the rest of the building, trash room, and it's about 20 by 30 in area.
Joe, what'd you say the building coverage was?
In percentage, we went from 99 to 92.7.
92.7? And
Correct.
how large is the commercial space now?
It's
proposed?
1,019 now, 1019.
Okay. Board, if I may, if I could just have our own experts sworn, we hadn't done that. So Don and Jason, you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do?
I do.
Sorry.
Am I correct, the trash utility room is 521 square feet?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Can I ask what triggered the reduction in units and the density?
What triggered it?
What triggered it? Yeah,
Oh.
so why was it reduced, the number of units? What-
Oh,
what
well,
happened
I
that-
think we were just trying to reduce the development in general, from 60 units. I'm not sure if we could have
There's,
fit.
yeah,
Could
there
you
was-
speak into the mic, please?
Well, it's an overall question. The board was looking at the last hearing to add, to reduce the impervious, reduce the coverages. And the only way to do that is to reduce the size of the building, which then reduces the unit count.
Could you use the mics, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you able to hear me on that, or?
Yep. I can.
And as with many urban developments like this, oftentimes the parking drives what the potential of the site is, not always the density and such. So, such is the case here as well, where we reduce the number of units, we reduce the footprint, and that has a trickle effect where there's less room to put parking now. So the downside is the reduction. We had a little bit of a reduction in parking as well. But we had a variance for parking before. We have a variance for parking now. The good news is that there are. Well, I could get into the
Do you want to get into the parking
basics.
now?
Yeah, let me get into the parking. So
So you do have a variance, or you're asking? for-
there is a variance for parking
Request.
in this
You're
application.
requesting.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So, as I said earlier, we are providing a curb cut at the easternmost part of the site, and that's the access into the parking garage area. It's a two-way driveway, obviously. And we do provide, I think it was even a comment in one of the review letters, a pedestrian warning signal, so such that vehicles that exit from the parking garage, the light would go off and alert pedestrians in the sidewalk that a vehicle is exiting. So certainly something for safety that we are incorporating on our site plan. The parking garage, and this what you're looking at is the lower level of the building, where it's primarily parking, and you have your commercial space on the left-hand side, vestibule and lobby area for the building. And on the very right, as I stated before, is where the trash and utility room are situated. The rest of the ground floor here is parking. And the parking garage is naturally ventilated so that so we don't have to put mechanical units to ventilate that parking garage space. So what happens there is some of the walls are open to the outside. But what we did speak about internally is this parking garage, rather than it being an open wall in some areas with some columns, we agreed to provide somewhat of a knee wall, or a 3 to 3.5 foot high wall, such that it would block the headlights at least of the building, and provide, instead of putting a bunch of wheel stops around, and I'm one of those guys that is anti-wheel stops. I'd rather have a wall or a curb or something like that, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So encapsulating the parking garage with like a 3 foot high wall.
Do you do the knee walls, is that just so you don't have to put mechanical ventilation?
No, we have the openings in the wall so that we don't have to put the mechanical ventilation.
That's why you do it?
Yeah. The knee wall is a couple of reasons. First, it keeps the cars in where they're supposed to be.
No, I understand, I meant
Yeah.
you're leaving openings.
Correct.
Just to circumvent the necessity to put a mechanical.
Certainly, yes. Yep.
And where would that wall be exactly on the plans?
So where we show somewhat of a dashed line, and I know your planner and engineer are aware of this and they picked up on it. Obviously, the building has walls on primarily all sides. In the back area, what we're showing here is columns and open walls. They're not, what I'm trying to describe here is they're not completely open as if you could just walk in and out. There are going to be walls there, and even above that, there are going to be like screening that somebody's not going to be able to come in and out of the parking garage.
For security
For
purposes.
security purposes, correct, yes. But at the same time, providing that ability for ventilation.
Do we know what that will look like, that screening?
Oh, I'm sure we'll get
We'll
into
have
the
the
architecture,
architect
sure, yes. So just getting into some of the parking statistics, there are 26 indoor covered parking spaces for this development, 5 of which will be EV spaces. And we're going to upgrade that to 6 EV spaces because it's a comment that was picked up again by your review engineer. The EV model ordinance is a little tricky, that the new ordinance that I'm sure you're aware of in New Jersey. And even if you're at like a 5.1, the requirement is you have to round up. So we have to round up to the 6 EV spaces in order to comply with the 15%, and that's what we're doing here. Or we will do that. They don't all have to be EV. There could be EV ready, so the first third have to be EV spaces. The second, I'm not sure if the owner wants to do them all in one
We'll do
shot.
all EV ready.
EV ready? Or
We still have
EV?
to do some.
All EV ready.
No.
All EV, I'm sorry. EV, I'm getting it.
So, yeah, you're familiar with the regulation where the first third have to be EV, the second third in 3 years have to be EV ready, and the third, which is, to me, becomes more of a maintenance issue, a policing issue on the municipality. Our clients agreed to just put them all in, so you don't have to worry about that.
Are they gonna be only for residents? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. I was going to say that next, is that all the parking spaces are for residents, actually. They are all assigned spaces. And the benefit of that is because you know your space, you know how to get in and out of your space, and you become acquainted with your space, where it is. You won't have those issues of looking for a space. You know where it is. And I don't know if I mentioned it too. I'm sorry.
Did you say there were all the spaces?
Assigned, correct. Yeah.
When we go into the calculations.
Sure. So that would be on the cover sheet. On the cover sheet, we have a table that generally goes through all the site statistics, and in addition, it goes through the off-street parking space calculations, where the number of residential obviously triggers a requirement for parking, the commercial triggers a requirement for parking. The required number of parking spaces, we calculated to be 36, but I think your planner calculated it to be 37.
Yeah, I think I have a typo carried over from the previous report. I believe the total is 39.
And then you get the 10%.
And then 10%.
Okay, so it would be then
It's still
36?
6 EV spaces.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
No, but the
no,
required
Oh, sorry.
number,
The total required number is 39.
no, but then you reduce
then you reduce.
the 3.5, because it's 10% reduction.
Right.
So it would be
So
go
the
down to
requirement.
36 as a requirement. We do,
You're-
it's a very strange calculation. It's almost like, there's an EV credit. Do you apply the credit on the spaces that you're proposing, or do you apply it to the requirement? A lot of people I'm seeing apply it to the requirement, so they knock down the 10% requirement. So if you take the 37 and take 10% of that, it's 3.7.
And you round
So-
up to the.
And you round up to the 4, so 37 minus 4,
Becomes
it becomes the 33 is the requirement then.
It sounds right. I remember talking about that.
It's a very convoluted,
39.
The requirement is 39.
39.
but with the EV credit, it gets knocked down.
35.1, right, just 36. Yeah, 35.
5.1 is 15% of, well, you get 10%.
10% round it up, so if you have 39, it rounds up to 4, 39 minus 4 is 35.
35.
So the way I would do it is 39 minus 3.9, get an answer, and then do your rounding there, so 35.1.
Okay. Well, we still say on our plans 36 as a requirements. We actually rounded up a little bit conservatively. Nonetheless, we need a parking variance, so we calculated the requirement to be 36 required parking spaces, which I think is conservative. It might be 35.
I think that's your math as well, that's what we're saying.
That's what you're saying,
I'm good
36.
with the lower number.
Yeah. So it is
But
36.
irrespective, we would need from the DCA an exception on our size.
Yeah. And we do need a variance. We're proposing 26. The requirement is 36. And then we're also proposing 6 on-street parking spaces, which I know don't count towards that calculation. But in the redevelopment plan, it does acknowledge that on-street parking is a mechanism at which to request a variance for parking, if you look in the redevelopment plan. It does acknowledge that.
How many off-street parking?
6.
New.
Right.
New. Well, 6 in total. I don't know what was there before.
Yeah, it's tough to say just because of all the curb cuts and
Yeah.
lack of curbing.
I was,
If there's any parking out there.
yeah, I visited the site a couple of times. It is hard to tell what's a parking space out there with all the curb cuts. Because like I said, there are 3 existing curb aprons along Monroe scattered about the site. Let me try to zoom out
Will
here.
they not be, will the parking spaces not be striped in that area?
We'll have to coordinate with council on anything in the street, but assuming that they agree to our plan, we show it as being striped on our plans. And there you can see it on this plan, the 6 parking spaces here. And they're all lined up next to each other, and then the driveway apron right here on the right-hand side of the plan, as opposed to if you go to the prior plan, these 3 curb cuts, they're shown with this dark solid line, 1, 2, 3, across the site here, and then another large curb cut on Main Street.
And that curb cut on Main Street, is that being eliminated also?
Yes, it is. Right. So like I was saying, there are 4 existing curb cuts. It's going to be reduced down to 1. And I think it's a 1 curb cut in the best possible area, far away from that intersection of Main. Next, I'll jump to, if I could, the landscaping, if we're done with parking and such. And that's sheet 10 of the site plan set. I could go through this pretty quickly. I believe you received this all in your site plan application.
Put the turning movements first.
Sure.
Why don't we hit the vehicular turning movements?
So we did include 2 plans, sheets 4 and 5, in the site plan set that show the vehicles, the cars that would enter in and out of the driveway and go to their respective spaces. The hardest spaces of which are always on the end, but you could see that this plan does show an area where you could turn around and exit, and in the other side, in the other driveway as well, there is a turnaround area at the end of the aisle so that one could get out. But like I said, these are all assigned spaces. You'll know where your space is, and you'll know if your space is vacant, or you should know, because it's your space.
So about the EV spaces, so, they're assigned then, so.
Yeah.
They gotta be a person with an electrical vehicle, right?
You would assign it to somebody that has an electrical vehicle.
So what happens if like going in and building those electrical vehicles, those 4 spaces?
Well, it's similar to saying, well, you have compact space, if nobody has a compact space. It provides for it in order to accommodate it, and it's, I would venture to guess today, or a few people in there, based upon the way EV sales are doing right now, people are gonna have it.
So it could be like a plug-in hybrid, right?
Yeah, that's-
As long as there's a plug, you're allowed to park in that space. It could be a hybrid that has that plug ability. And that's the way the model ordinance is really pushing for that technology. It's encouraging that technology. So that's what you see here on this, not only this development, all developments you're going to be seeing
The
that.
sales ultimately will catch up, as long as the infrastructure is there, people, I guess the viewpoint is, if you're building the infrastructure, it will then make people more inclined to go ahead and buy an EV vehicle. And I think it does.
So I do want to point out on the maneuvering and such, we did have to, because we reduced the building, we had to reduce the drive aisle by just a foot. So in the prior plan, it was 22 and a half feet wide in this area. This area stayed the same, still 24 complies. Prior plan at 21 and a half. Now we have a prior plan at 22 and a half. Now we have 21 and a half. So we had to squeeze that aisle a little bit as well. But that's because the building shrunk.
Yeah, but you didn't narrow that width of that part of the building, right?
Oh, we did.
Why would you do that?
Um,
The setbacks are in other areas, right? So like from, going south to north, it's still the same footprint, no? What about the L?
No, you could see here, we provide that 3-foot setback. It's not dimensioned. This one foot, or that 0 indicates the overhang, but
So that gray part is not up against, that's not on your lot line? Is that the building?
The building over the parking area closest to Main Street is at the property line. The south part of the building
And the south part, is that the property line?
is at the property line.
So then they didn't shrink it, right?
So at the ground level, no. And again, you might need the architect to fine tune this, but the upper levels, that's where the footprint has shrunk.
But parking was-
At the parking level, it
Parking
hasn't
was
shrunk
there,
in that
right?
dimension.
So
Correct.
If you didn't shrink that, why'd you have to shrink beyond this?
well, we have the
Well, they
columns.
reorganized the space so that they could get full-size parking spaces instead of compact spaces. Yeah.
Donna, please use your mic.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Henry. So yeah, so now they have all full-size spaces instead of compact spaces, and the configuration works better with that aisle.
Got it.
But yeah,
You're right, I misspoke. So the building is on that property line,
So
but
the full-size space is deeper than the compact space?
correct.
sure.
And Jason, is 21 and a half feet enough?
It's tight, I mean, they're showing on sheet 4, that's a compact vehicle. And this is the same software everyone uses, so you can just assume you rely on it. That's a compact vehicle, it's shown at 15.25 feet long. Then if you go to, oh, I turned my computer off. If you go to the next sheet, wrong button. If you go to the next sheet, that is an SUV, I think it's 17.66 feet long.
Correct.
So you can see how the vehicle moves. So by the modeling software, it works. But, when you go to, when you go to a standard store at anywhere, USA, or whatever, the drive aisle, the parking space is usually 18 feet deep, and the drive aisle is usually 24, plus or minus. So you see the difference. So you're down 2.5 feet.
Correct. Yeah, and you're correct. I mean, open parking lots, generally, you'll have the 24 and the 18-foot spaces. Parking garages tend to get a little tighter sometimes. There are columns and things of that nature. And the space is just that much more expensive in a parking garage scenario. So they tend to get a little bit tighter. But
I have the same question as before. Maybe the architect can get into this when he gets up, but it looks like there's space, the 22.5 feet that was available before. I don't see why that's not available. There's probably an answer for it. I'm not seeing it. But we can put a pin in that until your architect comes up.
well, if we push the building out to the column line, obviously, the more room, we'd want that as well. We don't want it to be a tough parking lot to maneuver for residents and such. So if we could expand it, we certainly will.
We'll have Louis testify.
So I'll flip over to sheet 10 of the set is the street landscaping plan. And generally, you can see here where we have street trees along Monroe, 7 street trees. They're all deciduous and street trees that you would expect to have that comply with the redevelopment plan. And we're also proposing 22 evergreen shrubs, 25 flowering shrubs. And I think one of the comments from your planner was to provide more landscaping around the perimeter, and we'd certainly be able to accommodate that. This area is pervious, meaning that it's we can put plantings around the perimeter of the site through this area, as long as we can have access for, like, for example, to this egress stair and such. It doesn't hinder that type of pedestrian access.
Now, there were comments in the planner's report regarding the Hummingbird summer suite, how it prefers full sun, may not do well in the location on the north side of the building. Any objection with putting an alternative plant as opposed to that Hummingbird plant?
We're certainly open to it. I'm not a landscape architect, so I can't testify as an expert
But
in
no
that
objection
regard,
to
but
that.
I have no objection to any recommendation. The shrubs that we're proposing are along the building facade on the building side of the sidewalk, and then we have the street trees between the sidewalk and the curb, as you normally would.
I'm saying they're just gonna be,
The
it's
planting
nothing
rate.
raised, right, it's open cuts?
Oh, yeah, no, they're not raised planters or anything, correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I would just
They're
want
upright.
to add, if it's swapped out, that it's a native substitute, like, that's a nice native plant. So, I mean, the plant list I think is great, but if it's getting swapped out,
Yeah,
keep it native.
we're open to substituting species of shrubs and such. And the other thing that the planting area does along the building edge, in addition to that, the warning signal for the pedestrians, it pushes the pedestrians out from the building a little bit so that a car could see the pedestrian on the sidewalk, because they're pushed out from the building, not walking right up against the edge of the building. They wouldn't be able to with the landscaping there.
Will those be sprinkled, the bushes along the building themselves?
I don't know the answer to that.
I
That would
don't
be an
know if
operation.
it was included in there, because I don't believe it was.
And the landscaping that would be put around the parking lot, would that be shrubs, ground cover, grass?
Probably a combination of shrubs and ground cover.
No, around the back of the building. I'm just wondering, because I'm even wondering like if there's enough sun back there. Not on
Yeah,
the
the back of
plan.
the building, you're not gonna get a lot of sun. You'll get some on the easterly side, but certainly the southerly side, I think it's gonna be tough.
And you don't need that space for any kind of, sorry, you don't need that space for any kind of underground piping, utilities, stormwater,
No utilities back
Down.
there. We're not,
spout connections, roof drain connections.
our roof drains are all going out towards the front. All utilities, I'll get to that later on, but they're all occurring like on Monroe. So we have no utilities back there. So that wouldn't be a reason to not have the shrubs. But I do think the lack of sun is probably a hindrance to it.
Well, we have species that do well in low concentrations, we can make accommodations.
Yeah, but ultimately, if somebody's gonna develop on the other side, it's basically gonna be an alley.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna have,
Yeah, I was thinking,
exactly,
you know, climb over.
over the wall.
Yeah, you would have to climb over the knee wall.
Well, that is an alley, that is an alley on the east side.
On the east side, there's a 5-foot alley that could get you to the back. So there is a corridor there.
By the way, is that gonna be open or is it a gate?
We show it open.
On Monroe.
We show
It's
it,
open to Monroe?
we show it open.
An alternative would be to put the knee wall on the outside, plantings on the inside, and use a wheel stop.
Plantings on the inside of the garage.
No, it's a-
Inside the knee wall's on the property line. So you have a planting buffer
But it's
in the
gonna,
wall.
I mean, it's not gonna.
I don't know
it's
what
not-
everybody's thinking up there.
It's gonna get no sun.
Again, there are plants that are very happy in the shade.
Use the mic, please.
There are plants that are happy in the shade.
I think it's something where we could sit down with you and.
I'm
work
trying to
through.
get some guidance from the board as to
Yeah.
which configuration might be favored.
Well, is it butting up against?
And I don't know how much it helps for stormwater infiltration. I don't know if it helps on the impervious side of things.
And they have an impact on the impervious. And that's what we're trying to do by pulling that building off of that rear
Yeah.
lot line, is to increase that impervious.
And then the
You
plants.
could make, yeah, I mean, even without plantings, you could make that whole alley impervious, right?
Pervious, meaning like pervious. Yeah, I mean, even mulch is pervious, and it's no maintenance, or stone, like river stone.
Yeah.
River stone, something like that is low maintenance and it very,
Well, is that-
very porous.
Are these setback areas in this alley, are they calculated?
They're calculated.
Impervious? Is it impervious, right?
They would count toward whether it's impervious or
Well, I
pervious.
know it's counted,
Oh,
so was it so what was it counted as, pervious or impervious?
Right now, it's counted as pervious. That's the pervious, additional pervious, meaning water could penetrate through those areas. So if we put riverstone, as you're suggesting, or something to that effect, it would continue to be pervious and porous.
Could you just put carrots or like a sedge? I mean, there's very little maintenance. I mean, if the idea is to increase, I mean, plants are gonna help, so a sedge, like a simple sedge, carrots, Pennsylvania is gonna be fine,
Whatever the
but
board recommends, we'd be fine.
it'll just help with the stormwater, and then it's, very limited maintenance. I mean, are you concerned about getting back? to
We're not opposed
maintenance?
to putting some plantings, as long as it's not an obstruction for maintenance around the building. That's the main thing. If you put one shrub and it's very large, you won't be able to get to the other plantings and get around the building in that area.
It's like carrots is just a sedge that it's really low maintenance and it's low and it doesn't really,
Yeah,
you
we're
don't have to walk
open.
around it.
We're open to
We're fine with that.
low type vegetation in that area. Certainly.
Anyone else on the board or Donna, do you guys have any other thoughts about this? Jennifer, I usually just go with whatever you suggest.
No, that's my thought. That's-
and so do you guys still want the knee wall around the parking lot, the perimeter of the parking?
Well, I
So then
think
the
you want
sedge would
that,
be
because you
there.
don't want the headlights going to the adjacent property. It blocks those headlights, and also you want some security into the parking area, so people aren't just walking into the building.
How much does that really save you, though, not putting full walls and putting the chemical? I mean, is it cost?
That's
the
pretty
question of my client,
substantial.
But I would say it's substantial.
Really?
I think it's substantial, and not only that, now you have another piece of mechanical equipment that you have to put somewhere, hide.
And you're reducing
Screen.
the ceiling.
Fans and-
I don't think so, but
And
we
you're
could.
reducing the ceiling height also with the equipment.
Okay.
It seems to me that if you're leaving an alleyway, especially on the south side, the southeast section, you're up against the building. I mean, that alleyway is, yes, it may be pervious, but it's going to be a maintenance problem. Seems to me that you ought to bring that building back to the property line.
But then we run into the issue with impervious coverage. That's, the board at the last hearing
Slide the
was
whole
looking
building
to
over.
reduce that.
And about having setbacks, because they're getting a variance.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, might get even a 5 foot.
That's going
It
to
was
be.
supposed to be 10 foot.
So we were trying to reduce the variance.
I understand that, but when you move that 3.5 feet from the property line, you've got an alleyway, you've got a wide alleyway, and you're up against the building. Who's gonna maintain that?
The alleyway, my client.
Well, I hope so.
But these, listen, we have to work with, and we're trying to get as close as we can to the so we need some variance relief. But based upon the comments from the board at the last hearing, the board wanted to see a reduction in what we were proposing, and that's what we did with the plan, by including more pervious, reducing coverages, including, and then setting it back from the rear property line. And we accomplished a lot of that by this plan.
Yeah, I think because you did that, then, which I think is good, then you don't want to maximize or optimize the impervious aspects and just, I mean, the maintenance for this particular plant is, I mean, there's no weeding, I mean, it's just, once it's filled in, it's just like a low grassy look.
But you've got a building wall, you've got the north wall of the building coming off of, I think it's Summerfield. And you've got the back end of this building, the south end of this building, and you've got an alleyway in between. And what I'm saying is that's gonna be just a nightmare for the
This isn't on Summerfield. The back part of that building is not on Summerfield. Why don't we bring up
The cover.
the first sheet? It shows the lot. It only goes halfway through.
Doesn't go straight through.
There we go.
You're saying it's the building fronting on Summerfield?
Yeah.
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 Read the back of it.
Oh,
The north end of that building.
well, that building may not go all the way back to the property line either, if there's a requirement. Well, it does today, but I think,
And it's two
Well,
stories.
you indicate that on your plan, that it does.
Yeah.
so.
it does, no, it does today, but I'm saying in future development, if there was something new to come, it might be pulled back from that back property line. And 3 feet sounds, and it is tight, 3 feet is tight, but we see plantings in 3-foot areas quite often, as long as they're modest plantings. You're not going to want to put a tree there or anything, or arborvitae or something like that, but something very low
Ground
and
cover.
ground cover type shrubs. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, and we're, whatever the board is inclined with, you want to do a type of ground cover as requested, or river stone, whatever it might be, we're fine with.
Do people have a preference, ground cover versus Riverstone?
Yes, I have a preference for Carrick's Pennsylvania.
What is that?
It's just a sedge, it's a grass. I mean, it's not, it's just a low,
It looks kind of like
it looks like a grass,
What's
it's
it
not,
called?
It's a ground cover?
it's called Pennsylvania, Carrick's Pennsylvania. So Carrick's is just, it looks like grass, it's technically not grass. But it's, you don't have to mow it,
Really?
I mean, very.
It's evergreen.
It's evergreen. It has really good roots that absorb water.
It's a
You don't
really
have to
good,
mow it.
yes,
It like
like
shade.
spongy type plant.
I'm not a fan of Riverstone.
What's that?
Not a fan of Riverstone.
Yeah, we've had problems.
So would you guys agree to Carrick's around?
That's,
Absolutely.
we'll go with that. Okay.
Sounds good, I love it.
Thanks, John.
I'll take you over to the lighting plan is sheet 8 of the plan set. And I'll describe basically what's going on Monroe and Main Street today is you have a couple of Cobra head fixtures. You have one Cobra head fixture on Main Street. These are existing structural features. And you have 2 Cobra heads on utility poles on Monroe. What this application is proposing are some wall-mounted fixtures along the face of the building. And you can see those indicated with these symbols. And you have 8 fixtures along Monroe that are mounted to the building wall. And you have 3 fixtures mounted on the building wall on Main Street. You can see some images of that fixture on the same plan and some renderings of the same. And basically what that's providing is sufficient lighting on the sidewalk up to the curb for the pedestrian level type access. This site plan, lighting plan also shows the soffit lighting in the parking garage. Obviously this is a private parking garage area, but I'm sure the board wants to see that it has adequate lighting in the parking garage for security and such. And one of the concerns that came up was the fact that we had the perimeter wall shown as open along the edges. You could see the light levels at around 3 to 5 on this edge. By the time you get to the property line, that 5-foot foot candle may drop down to about 3 or something like that. So 2 things we did to mitigate that. First, like I was describing earlier, we didn't model this lighting as if there's a 3-foot high wall around the perimeter. So we did that now, and we modified this plan to reduce the fixtures, particularly in this area. So where we had 20 fixtures in this parking garage, the new plan shows 16. We have an exhibit that shows 16 that I can bring up.
Yeah, I'll distribute,
now.
this is going to be A12 for identification, and we have here we want to identify this. We'll have this as the revised lighting plan, it's A12.
So this is different than what we have.
Yeah, we just updated based upon the report that we got and some of the concerns that are.
Is that dated, Andy?
I think it's the same A20, the same revision date.
Well, it's actually a new date. It should be noted as a new date, today's date.
Today's date.
Which
Yeah.
is, all right, so we'll have today's date, we'll distribute this and then we'll resubmit with current date on it. All right. This will be A12 for identification.
And I'll bring it up on this exhibit as well, and we'll obviously share this PDF as well. So here you can see the exhibit that shows the reduction of 20 soffit lights in the parking garage. And I'll zoom in on this edge here that I think you'll be pleased with the light levels that have been reduced as you approach the property line in the back here. You're down to 0.1 foot candles, which is practically undetectable along the edge here. And we did that by just reducing the fixtures. LEDs are very easy to manipulate. In general, you can provide a certain photo type or light level type and basically steer the lighting in a certain direction. And we did that here, so you can see the light levels around the perimeter are much better than what they were before.
Is there any barrier along the property line on the eastern edge? There's the knee wall, but is there anything on the property line?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there any barrier, like a fence or anything along the property line on the eastern edge, or is it just the?
There's an existing fence that runs up to the front of this house, up to basically the front here. So there's a fence that goes from this front corner to the property line and runs along the back here. You know, we could easily put a fence or a gate or something like that between our building and that existing fence, if that's something for security. We might do that anyway, just for our own purposes. It's the neighbor's fence.
You should put
A fence against the, not a fence against the fence, but a fence connecting to that fence, you're saying, right?
Well, I don't know what you mean connecting.
Well,
I mean, if they take this down,
then,
it's an old house.
yeah,
Yeah, but you don't want to put two adjacent fences.
Fences
If they were
next to-
Take it down, that may then require we put up a fence.
Yeah, I mean,
Still there.
You may want to ask them, you put your fence out, you put a nice fence in.
I think that's something we'd agree to, is approach the neighbor. If they were hesitant or didn't want the new fence and they wanted to keep their fence, we can't just go in there and remove their fence,
No,
but,
I mean, I had a neighbor one time that had a bricky old fence.
yeah,
And he put up a brand new expensive fence, and nope.
they didn't
And I
want
put
it,
it next to it.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk to the neighbor about replacing that fence into like about one fence
I
or
mean, I
something.
think you should just secure it too, you know, coming in from my
Yeah.
house, you don't want anybody walking.
Well, we'll speak with him about that, because that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, continuing on, this is a 12.
So just, Jason and I are trying to look at this plan. It does look like there's still a point eight and 1.1. Oh, no, wait, that's in the building. So the open part where there is no building adjoining, looks like there's a 0.8 foot candle is here. At the property line, so that would still exceed the standard. Over here,
It's got to be here, this end, because this is the 0.5, so this is going to be.
This is 1.2 and that's an 8.
So that-
Well, there's an 8 inside the building,
That's the one, okay.
and there's,
So it touches
There's a one at the property.
at the property line. So they would still need the exception, but at least it's much improved and it's, looks like it's conforming all the way around otherwise, yeah.
Is that inside the building, inside the garage?
No, it's on the piece of the, along the southerly property line where where it's open. That lot, that fronts on Summerfield. It's that backyard of that lot.
But it's .1 right there, correct?
It's one.
It's
one
one.
or
I
one?
think you're pointing
It's
to
the
this
one line.
location right here?
Yes.
Okay.
One, two,
But
So
is
just
that
to the
part of
right,
the building?
just to the right there, where the one line touches the property line.
Is this part of the building open?
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, all of the parallel spaces there.
Oh, I thought you said that was the whole building. So I'm not.
Yeah.
we'll get to that then with
It
the
is,
architecture.
it is open.
Okay. But there is a building along that edge, but I think we could reduce that area as well, back down to we could reduce that area as well down to .1. If we just move these fixtures away a little bit, we can make that work.
Again, I'm not worried where it hits the building, the adjoining building.
Right.
I'm more concerned about where it's in the open lot. And it's very minor, I mean, the board may find it suitable.
Yeah, it seems to be negligible.
Yeah. It's coming down from, it's just that one little curve of the mud roof strip. So again, just to clarify, it's improved, it's not perfect. It may be appropriate or suited.
Continuing on.
I'll finish with grading and utilities. I think I mentioned this earlier, and stormwater. All of our utilities and connections are occurring on Monroe. We don't propose any cuts into Main Street. So, for example, the stormwater connection, and I'll flip over to the utility plan. That's sheet 6 of the site plan set. On the upper left side of the building is where we have the roof drain connection, and that's connecting into the back of a catch basin on Monroe. See, that's a 12-inch concrete pipe. And then the water and sewer connections are basically in the middle of the building, and they also connect out into Monroe. We have a 6-inch fire connection and a 2-inch domestic service for water, and you have a 6-inch sanitary sewer that extends to pretty much the middle of the street on Monroe.
Now, that sewer comes from a neighboring property, right?
No, that's our proposed sewer into the building.
Sewer line.
There is a sewer that runs from this existing building beneath our building. You can see the remnants of it here, right? That's going to continue to, it's not our sewer, but it runs underneath our building. And it would have to remain there with some kind of an easement or
Yeah, we have
something.
no objection to doing an easement. There's no recorded easement on there now, but we would have to do an easement with the adjoining property.
Okay.
They would have to be responsible for that line, but we'll give them an easement.
So, I'm sorry, so that's a drainage manhole,
Now, this is
Manhole
a
one?
sanitary, this here.
manhole one?
This is a drainage manhole, correct?
Okay, that's a drainage manhole. And so how is the water getting to that manhole?
It's roof runoff, essentially, going inside the building. It's being collected internally and then exiting the building through this face into this manhole, and then discharges into a catch basin on the curb of Monroe.
Okay, so it's inside.
Yeah, the roof drainage system is collected inside the building.
What about electrical service for the building?
We see a small electric, underground electric from this pole into the building here.
What
That
about
this is, the meters are all going to be on the other side of the building, near the trash room.
So it's overhead from me.
No, this we're showing as underground from the pole. Yeah, well, there is overhead and main existing, correct?
So the electric service you're getting, are you putting it in or it's there?
Well, there is electric there, but we're putting a new service.
All
It's a
right,
new
so
service.
electric utility from me, got it.
This is something where, at this point in the design phase, you're not coordinating with the utility company's not talking to you at this stage of the game. You know, you have to create a service number with them. You really have to be a lot closer to construction
We'll
before
do that at the appropriate
they
time.
give you the details of how they're going to approach the primary service into the building.
What about gas for the building? Is there going to be gas service for the building?
We do show gas, but in my understanding of this project, there may not be a need for gas service. It might be a full electric type building. But we do show a gas in case it's necessary. That goes also to that utility room on the east side of the building.
We were ready to discuss that for the neighboring property, we would do an easement agreement with them where they could get access for any necessary repairs for their pipe, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So,
So the meters are inside?
That's probably something that the architect could speak to, but we could accommodate them inside.
and again, if this is the architect's, is there an expectation that there's going to be an exterior transformer? Or is that going to be inside the building? Or is that the architect's?
I doubt there would be a transformer inside the building. I don't know right now what the
A
need
lot
is.
going on at that corner. I
Yeah,
don't know that
for the
you-
transformer. We would have to work that out with the utility company.
Yeah, again,
That's a later discussion with the utility company.
we're pretty early in the game. There's a possibility of an underground transformer or something of that nature. And that's something that the utility company would guide us on or really dictate.
Excuse me, let's just step back a minute to that existing sewer line on the western, parallel to Main Street underneath your commercial space. How are you gonna handle that?
Are you talking about the property, the adjacent property owner?
I'm talking about the existing sewer line that runs across what is now the existing parking lot in front of the tire shop.
For the neighbor?
I'm sorry?
For the neighbor?
Yes, yeah.
Give them an easement.
They're going to leave it there. They're going to
How
leave
are you
it.
gonna handle it? You gonna encase it? You going to just leave it the way it is, or you?
We're not touching it. That's their pipe. We'll do an easement for
Understand.
them.
I just wanna know how you're
Yeah,
gonna.
we're not replacing it. That's their pipe. We'll do an easement. In the event there has to be repairs to it, they'll have an easement to be able to get access to it.
Okay.
So, and
If they want to replace their own pipe, put it somewhere else, that's up to them, but it runs across one street.
right here.
Underneath what is.
See this
what you're
line here?
proposing is
Now
commercial
just-
space.
Also being a parking.
Yeah, so it's not underneath the retail or commercial
It's
space.
under the park, so they can
So
get access.
this is all open here underneath where there's parking. There are a couple of columns and you can see the span. There's a column here and there's a column here. Where this sanitary line runs, there are no columns. The only thing you're really spanning over when you do your new building is this building wall right here. So the footing for the building wall here, we'd have to make accommodations to work around that sewer line if that footing even goes that deep. It probably won't even go that deep.
Do you know how deep the sewer line is?
I don't have that information. But your bridge, we're talking about a sewer line that's probably a 6 or 8 inch pipe. You could easily span over that, bridge over that with a footing.
No, but you have to concrete, you have to pave it for it.
Oh, but you're gonna have plenty of cover from the parking lot to the sewer. You're probably gonna have 3 or 4 feet at least of room before from your surface of your parking lot to that sewer line, you probably have 3 or 4 feet. I mean, your engineer could even back me up on that one. The sewer line that's there today, there's parking there today, there's a building there today, so obviously it's deeper than those facilities. So we'd have to do a soft dig, find the pipe, and work around it. So it's a construction effort on that end.
That's the tire place, right?
The adjacent place
No,
is,
what this side is the tire
Now?
place? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
Because
think
it's all
the-
vacant. Oh, it
yeah,
goes
but
up
I believe the building runs on top of that, and the adjacent site, I think it's an awning shop or something.
This is all open here. So the building just misses that existing sewer line.
So you don't know.
Right. Well, it's,
It might be a problem when you start constructing.
but there's a concrete area there now today. So it's obviously below ground here today from this building sewer, and it has to run underneath the floor of that building. So it has to be deep enough. If we were to put something back here, it's going to be in the same general location vertically.
I thought one of your original plans showed it closer to Main Street, and I thought from what you show here, that it was probably underneath your commercial space, but you think it's in the garage area?
There's no recorded easement right now.
But, okay, I understand that, but the practical problem is you've got a sewer line that you have to keep in
Service, has to stay in service.
functioning.
Correct.
And you've got to,
We got to build around it.
Yeah, we show it on this end of the building, if you can see the plan from your vantage point.
okay,
This
that's
is the back corner, so this is the pipe right here, way almost at the corner of the back of that building. That's where we found it to be located.
How did you find it?
I think we found it by knowing where it comes out of the existing building.
No cleanouts along the way or anything?
Not that we saw, so it wasn't that easy to, I'm sure we'll have to trace it, maybe do a soft dig, a test pit soft dig out by the property line and map it out. You know, it's the only way to work it out.
I understand you got to go around it. Fine, but yeah, I mean, location-wise, it's a wild guess. I know that.
Yeah.
That's what you're going through it.
Right. Where did I leave off? Stormwater,
Do stormwater?
we know that this site is a non-major development, so it's not considered a major development as far as the way the DEP would define this site. And in the site plan package as well, we have a plan that shows the green roof that we're proposing, and that's a substantial change on this plan. You have a green roof requirement, and we meet that requirement. So for every square feet of roof, you have to provide 2 gallons of green roof, and we comply with that regulation. So the required storage, based on your requirements, is 1,786 cubic feet of storage. And our proposed storage is 1,851 cubic feet. So we exceed the requirements by about 4%. And the other thing that was mentioned in one of the review letters is the additional building coverage should warrant additional green roof, and it does. So the larger the roof, the larger the building is, the more green roof or green infrastructure we have to provide on the rooftop of the building. But we comply with the ordinance requirements.
So the one thing about the stormwater is the common way to look at it from an engineering perspective is comparing the runoff rates, pre-development versus post-development. And in the post-development condition, the runoff rates are increased quite a bit percentage-wise. I mean, it's not a huge property, but percentage-wise, they're increased quite a bit. They are requesting a building and impervious coverage variance or exception. Variance. So, that's something that you might want to consider. When you read through the minor development section of the ordinance under stormwater, everything, Mr.
Melee?
Everything he said I agree with, the numbers, the gallons, all that kind of stuff, I agree with that. But when you read further in that section of the ordinance, it does start to talk about pre versus post development. And given the nature of the coverage variance, and given the nature of what the city experienced during the biblical rains we got over the past week or two, that's something you might want to take into consideration.
well, what's your recommendation on it?
I mean, the old school way of doing this, not even old school, just the standard we've been using forever is that the post-development runoff rates are no more than the pre-development. Did I say that right? Post-development runoff rates do not exceed the pre-development runoff rates.
Yeah.
Same or less is what you want.
So how do you do
Do we accomplish that?
I have no idea.
it?
No, you provide some additional storage, so I think there was a good point that was brought up. We provide the green roof to comply with that section of the ordinance, but we didn't consider the green roof in trying to attenuate the storm. So we could run those calculations, see what the green roof storage, how it improves the situation in terms of post-development. And if it doesn't meet that requirement, then we'll have to supplement it with additional storage. Where are we going to put that? Well, the only place at this point would be underneath the parking, in the parking area, underneath the pavement, which is very common. If you look at different urban areas, we do it often in Newark and Jersey City. You'll have a storage type unit underneath the parking area of a parking garage, and you store the stormwater, hold it back so that it meets the pre-development conditions. So
We'll run those calculations.
We can run those
We'll provide it to Jason to see whether or not it's
Is there any
necessary.
feasible way to use that water, like for irrigation for living areas? And does that count as mitigation?
That's a different, in terms
Unless it's a
of,
great water system and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, there's ways, I don't know if they want to get into that, there's ways, but it wouldn't help on the runoff necessarily, that's two different things.
You're still gonna have to run.
Yeah, and everything he said, I agree with. If they run the calculations on what the green roof can do, they might meet those pre-development runoff rates. If it falls short, they can supplement it with something else, which I have to imagine at that point is probably gonna be small.
pretty small containment system, I would think, underneath the
Within the
parking area, correct?
Yes.
So,
The board saw that in a recent application.
Yeah, so
Actually, I think Mr. Harris was the.
That's 1012
well.
Asbury Avenue.
Yeah.
Exactly.
one question I have for Jason is, does the runoff reduction from the green roof count? I know we've talked about this before.
You know, I believe it does. I'd have to check on that. What I would say is the green roof should be calculated in accordance with the DEP, DMPs, best management practices. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think does that count for quantity?
It could, yes,
Yeah.
if you
So as
design
long
it
as
that way.
the DEP, DMPs say it counts for quantity,
Mhm.
then I would say he can run that calculation. But that's probably how we should leave it now, is to say, let's follow the BMPs. However they state the green roof should be calculated, let's do that. And then we'll supplement and make sure, I'm suggesting, that the post-development rates do not exceed the pre-development rates.
Yeah, I personally think that's important, especially since there are, variances requested for lot coverage, impervious coverage.
Yeah,
And
we'll get those calculated. I don't disagree.
Jason, are we going to get into a problem with high water table? If we have to, especially if we have to go to some sort of a storage facility on this?
That's something they're gonna have to look at, but not necessarily, because they're not looking, well, they might, but they don't have to put it into the ground, they just need to contain it and let it go out slowly out to the street. They just need to slow down the release.
I can't imagine that the water table is much different than the one at 1012 Asbury Avenue where we did a shallow type containment system. So let's take a look at it first. Let's run the calculations before we determine whether or not we have to add a containment system.
Thank you. So yeah, these facilities are often in a concrete vault. So it's not as though you have stone or anything that needs to penetrate into the ground. It's in a vault or something in a containment area, and then it's stored there and slowly released back into your stormwater system in the street.
Where are we?
Where are we? Finally, I guess I'll end with the logistics, phasing and logistics plan.
We have a phasing and logistics plan. Is this a certain? Was this okay?
This is, don't worry about this. This is-
All right, so I'm going to mark as 813, a storage and logistics plan and prepared. What today's date?
Did you say phasing logistics or?
Or we can call it a logistics plan, which is essentially a phasing.
So, yeah, one of the requirements for site plan application is to provide phasing. It might be in your redevelopment plan, or your planner brought it up in that you have to provide some kind of a phasing plan. We did in our site plan set provide a construction logistics type plan, The only thing that was lacking there was timeframes of activities. So it did show how the site would look during construction in terms of temporary construction fence, construction entrance, things of that nature. That's shown on a few plans in our plan set, the soil erosion plan and the construction plan. But like I said, it did not show timeframes or durations of anything. So if you review this plan, it's showing a lot of the stuff that's consistent on our other plans, where we have a temporary chain link fence around the perimeter of the site to prevent people from coming into the site, obviously. The construction entrance shown on the right side of the site, where vehicles would enter the site to do their construction activities. The circulation at which they would approach the site from Main Street, making a right and going into the site. And then it's showing some signage outside directing pedestrians and such where not to go, on the sidewalk, because during construction, the sidewalk would be shut down.
So I see you're putting the temporary, you're creating pedestrian sidewalks. You're putting barriers in the street.
Correct.
So are they going to, they're going to be in the parking aisle, or are they going to be
Correct.
are they going to block the bike lanes? That's on Main.
On Main, no. That's a good question. We put that barrier at the edge of the bike lane, so the bike lane and the driving lane are free-flowing. What you'll lose is parking temporarily, because you have to guide the pedestrians that are in the sidewalk somewhere, and you want to keep them safe away from the construction activities. So for a while, you won't have parking, but you won't have a development here either. So, the parking and development kind of go hand in hand on the street. So on the bottom, you see the table that shows an estimated duration of those activities.
Mr. Mayor, just as you're going to do for 8/12, just also this one, I'm assuming you prepared this today.
Yes.
Yeah, well, this actually has a date 9/29/20.
It does say 9/29, right?
Yes.
Is that when it was prepared?
That is when it was prepared, yes.
That's 8/13, correct?
No. It has a-
8/13.
it does have a date,
Yeah.
9/29/23. So
Yeah, but
that's the date it was prepared.
but it's
Fine.
Exhibit A13.
Correct.
There's no existing trees?
I'm sorry, I thought you said 8/13.
What was your question?
Existing, on the existing plan, there's no existing trees? I just saw, see a note about existing trees that I don't see. I'm just looking at the note that says if trees,
I'm looking at your Google map, doesn't look like there's any.
yeah, so it's just the note is just in case some up here.
No, there are no trees.
Then if I remember, the site plan provides trees along Monroe, and the city's providing trees on.
Main Street.
So you closed the sidewalk on Monroe. Is that a major sidewalk to Thurgood Marshall School for the children going to school?
On Monroe?
Yeah, I believe the city has a crossing guard there, and that's a major sidewalk to the school. What do we do?
Well, we can direct them to the other side of the sidewalk, have signage where they have to go to the other side of the sidewalk. I think that'd probably be the safest way to do it.
Okay.
But you are creating a path.
There is a path
Barrier.
there. Yeah, absolutely.
They're protected, and I would estimate it's probably 6 feet wide. So it's pretty substantial.
But if you want to keep them out of the street, you can always, again, have signage directing them to the other side.
Can that fence be phased as far as location?
The construction fence?
Construction fence, where it's at some point closer to where the building's gonna be, and then when you need to do.
Well, generally, you're going to have lifts and such that are going to run back and forth in this area when you're going vertical on construction. Once you go vertical, you're going to have these lifts, these lulls going back and forth during construction. or scaffolding, things of that nature.
I'm sorry to ask this again, but note 12 where it says, in the event any street trees are removed during construction, they shall be replaced. But I know Main Street is, street trees are not, no new ones are being added. But that note applies to,
Where do you see that note?
it's note 12 on the existing conditions. I'm sorry, I'm on the existing conditions, sheet number 2.
You're looking on A11,
On,
page 2, A11.
yes.
It might be just a standard note. I don't believe there are any street trees out there that exist. Certainly not on Main Street. On Monroe, I was just there today, and I don't remember seeing a street tree. But we're proposing street trees at a spacing that complies with your ordinance. So we have the review letters, but we really went through a lot of the changes and a lot of the stuff
I
addressed.
want to do, why don't we mark the review letters? We're up to the,
Before you get into the review letters, can I ask a couple of questions? Just for clarification, in the parking area, you're installing knee walls and no wheel stops, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you going to put a curb or a sidewalk so that your cars are not going to be hitting the knee wall?
We didn't propose that. We have striping in those areas. We're just going to have the knee wall and pavement up to that wall.
Okay. You also mentioned that the openings are going to be screened, and that the architect is going to tell us about that?
correct.
Correct.
Okay. Above the screening, there's going to be a soffit of some type?
Yes.
Okay. How will that affect the lighting plan? To prevent spillage outside of the,
I think the architect will be able to
Okay.
testify.
But the lighting plan, the way we designed it, doesn't even consider that. So the lighting that we're showing on that exhibit that we presented is as if it's all open on the top half.
okay.
And so it's probably even more conservative if we considered any kind of a drop down on the top part of that parking garage.
You said that the parking spaces are going to be assigned?
Yes.
Okay. Are they also going to be assigned to owners of the, or renters of the affordable units?
There's no requirement under the plan, the redevelopment plan for affordable units to have parking.
That's not my question. My question is, are you going to assign any of those spaces to renters of affordable? No.
Probably not.
Okay. And it's a little confusing, but is the north edge of the building that's running along Monroe actually on the property line?
It is.
It is?
Yes.
So that all the plantings are going to be in the city right away?
Correct.
But there's no structure going into the city right away.
I'm sorry.
They're at grade, correct, yes.
There's no structure going into the right of way. It's only
I
the
understand,
plan.
but the plantings are going to be in the city right away?
Correct.
Quick question on the phasing again. So for Main Street, you're gonna have to get state approval.
Correct.
Okay, and then this is a 3 to 18 month build out. And I don't think we're gonna be lucky like this year where we had no snow. Have you guys considered what happens with snow plowing? With these barriers? And what,
If they have to
how that
remove,
impacts Main Street and Monroe?
well, they'd have to keep it clear. If they have to remove snow, either put it on our site and store it somewhere or haul it away, they'll have to make
Who's
accommodations.
they?
The developer,
Oh, okay. Okay.
not the city.
I'm not worried about the state. I thought you meant the state. I was going to say, good luck getting the
Certainly
state.
not the state.
Yeah. Okay.
want to go through the reports?
Why don't we have these marked? I'm not sure what we're up to with
I'm
these.
showing B3 was last.
B3, so that's a,
That's what I showed.
why don't we mark then the insight report dated September 27, 2003, B4. And we'll mark the CCH report as B5.
All right, do you have those notes from? It was April.
Yeah.
April meeting where we last left off. April.
So B4 and B5.
The insight letter dated 9/27/22, CCH.
23.
I'm sorry, 23. CCH dated 9/27/23.
That is correct. Am I correct? B4 is insight and B5
Correct.
is CCH. Okay. Looking at the insight report, a few things that I just want to go, I think we've hit just about all of it. As it pertains to the engineering, there's a comment on page 4 of 10, TWA approval, which we will obviously have to get. Comment, I'm sorry. Any right-of-way, we're not planning on going into the state right-of-way on Main Street, so we would not need any approval from the NJ.
Hold on, I think you are.
Where,
A small portion of sidewalk
Yep.
would be
And the
worked
electric
on.
utility.
I thought we kept it all out.
No, there's a small piece of sidewalk that's being
Oh, that,
replaced. Sidewalk.
that's being replaced, okay, but there's not an RW easement. It would be the replacement of that.
So
sidewalk.
you're replacing the sidewalk on Main and you have an underground electric utility you're bringing in, so you would need
That's,
DOT approval.
we would need the approval of both of those, that is correct. Yep.
How about curbing along the same location? Right now, there's a depressed curb, and they have to be changed to a full curb.
That's the reason we're making that change, exactly that. We're changing that apron to sidewalk and converting the curb, the drop curb to full face curb.
Comment about the recyclables and the garbage.
How many numbers?
Yeah, 22 is recyclables. 4 weeks will be stored on site. Am I correct? Your understanding is that the residential garbage would be public pickup, the commercial would be private, am I correct?
Correct.
And in terms of recyclables, there's sufficient storage capacity within the area of the building to take care of the recyclables, am I correct?
Yes.
Stormwater management, number 23, we've gone through. Page 5, the O&M manual, that would be filed with the D for the property, no objection to that.
Nope.
The lots will be consolidated, that's considerations, page 5 of 10, number 26. We will consolidate the lots. Here's the plan. 29 is the easement we've gone to, I think we've gone to an LSRP, number 31.
The
We also-
monitor wells, that was a question,
That's-
actually.
Yep,
There was, and I missed that actually in my testimony, I had written it down, but
31.
we do have 3 monitor wells on our site. We're not the LSRP, we're not the environmental engineers, but we do know that those 3 monitor wells will remain there after, subsequent to construction, they're going to stay there. And they basically are situated on the western side of the site. Actually, if you go to the existing conditions plan, you could see them in the background. And that's sheet 2 of the plan set. One is here on right on the property line of Main Street. One is inward of the site, so it would be in the parking area of the building. Won't be underneath the commercial space or anything. It'll be in the open parking area. And then there's one monitor well out in the sidewalk here they're all going to be protected during construction and remain subsequent to construction.
They're very clear on the phasing plan, if somebody can't find them
Yeah,
on this page.
we tried to identify it clearly on the phasing plan.
Right.
Continuing on, the additional considerations on page 7 of 10. We've done the lighting analysis, garage level lighting. B, 88 parking stalls are asked to confirm dimensions are compliant. Are they compliant?
We'll ensure that they're compliant.
And C is proposed planting mix for the intensive green roof, specified the be for an extensive green roof. You okay with
So
that?
we'll accommodate recommendations for what an extensive green roof as opposed to an intensive green roof. Extensive green roof is basically heavier gauge than an intensive. It has more planting opportunity, so you could put thick, larger plantings and such, and I think that's what your planner and engineer were alluding to, and we'll certainly accommodate that. I can't specify the
But
species.
that's the opposite. Extensive is less.
No, I think extensive is.
Extensive is, I'm sorry, because the, I know, like, my brain always flips it, but extensive is the thinner,
Thinner profile.
yeah, intensive is deeper.
Okay.
You have the intensive on your plan.
We have intent, that's what I meant. So we have intensive. We could accommodate the thicker plantings.
Right.
So we will take your recommendations and accommodate
objections.
them.
Going through the CCH report, I think through the direct testimony, we've covered all the comments as it pertains to the engineering aspect of this project. I think we've covered pretty much.
I have one thing about the lighting, that was just the roof lighting. There's a note about the height above, mounting height should
Okay.
be not the ground level, it should be the finished floor. Because it's like 6.5 feet above grade, and you're on the roof, so
Oh, all right, we'll change the note if that's,
it's
okay.
5.2.
Understood.
No objections.
And then, yeah, just, some of the details about the green roof planting design and
We'll add those.
getting the consistency about the intensive versus extensive. Okay. I think everything else is pretty architect.
Do either of you have any issues with the lighting analysis?
The revised one, maybe?
The revised one?
I don't think so.
Just the one comment. Other than that, it seems to address the prior comments.
Okay. But do you want them to make that area? I would say-
Not up to me, so.
I'd recommend.
Do you recommend? Okay. So,
Does the board have thoughts about the lighting plan and the fact that there's light spillage in that one part of the open wall?
What's the impact?
If it's that minute as you're saying, and you don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it.
I think personally, that 1 foot candle on the property line there, I think should come down. I think
Okay.
it should be below a half a foot candle.
Okay,
We can do that.
okay.
That's
No
we
issue.
could accommodate that, yes.
so I just want to make sure that was clear.
No issue.
Is there anything else from Jason or Donna?
Not for the engineer,
What's that?
not for the engineer.
Not for the engineer. Any questions from the board for the engineer?
Two quick questions. And it might have been covered, and I apologize. So the new trash room, so I imagine there's going to be totes and they're going to be toted out whenever the garbage day is
Yes.
manually? Okay. And then the parking, we're at 26 and should be at 36, so are you paying into 10 for the parking fund?
The ordinance doesn't provide for it. We have no issue if when I say the plan does not provide for it. If
This is the Main Street plan, it's not the CDB plan, okay.
Exactly, listen, if you put it into the Main Street plan, there's no issue with that. The thing is, because it impacts RSIS, I think you have to notify the DCA that you're revising your redevelopment plan in order to do that, so they allow payment in there. I think that's a procedure you would have to go through. I don't have an objection to that by paying into a fund, but I think that's a process you would have to go through.
Thank you.
But the Main Street redevelopment plan doesn't have that as a requirement. That's the CBD plan.
Or as an option.
But it's a variance.
Design
It's
exception.
an exception, not a variance.
So I have.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right.
You make a motion.
Yeah. I was gonna say, could we have a motion for a 5-minute break?
You gotta make a motion to
You gotta-
close the public.
We didn't open or close the public.
You gotta make a
I
motion.
thought you only had to do a
open
motion
that.
for public comment. Not,
It's
so
not
questions
every
too?
question.
Okay,
Questions?
questions. Motion to open for public questions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public? Questions for this witness?
Motion to close.
Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? No. Motion for a break.
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right,
Good.
let's do it.
Everyone, I'm going to take roll call so we can continue.
So, she's going down the right.
We're ready?
All right. Can we come back to order?
Come back to order,
Was there a thing?
okay? I will,
That's your first time.
All right.
I will now take roll call. Councilwoman Clayton,
To say here.
here.
Are you here?
I'm here.
Eric Galva,
Here.
Jim Henry,
Here.
Mayor Moore,
Here.
Daniel Shinameo, Jen Souter,
Here.
Vice Chair Mike Goonan.
Here.
Okay?
All right, Mr. Karras, your next witness, please.
We have the witness sworn.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And if you can state your name and spell your last for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Obi Agudosi. Last name is Agudosi.
I believe he's testified a zillion times before this board. All right, so I move to qualify him as an architect.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right, Obi, you've had an opportunity to make revisions to the plans subsequent to the last hearing on this matter, am I correct?
Yes,
Okay, you're going to pull those plans up on the screen, am I correct?
yes.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull those up, I'm going to mark those as 814. And if you can give me a last revision date on that, we can pull those up. I bring 825, 2023.
Yes, 8/25/2023.
Taking a look at what the mark is, 814 for identification, what we're going to have you do is go through the plans and highlight what is on the plans and how they differ from the previous set of plans that have been submitted.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present to you. We were here before, and based on some of the comments that raised by your professionals, we were able to improve on the floor plans. So earlier on, one of the plans that we presented before, there was issue with having windows in some of the units. This, what we are presenting now, address that, whereby we have a corridor between the units so that we're able to provide windows on all the units. So that's a big plus to the process.
In the bedrooms.
Betterment. And also, as testified earlier on, the number of units was also reduced. So this is what was submitted, as part of it. Basically, the project layout has already been explained in terms of having the main street and as well as more roads. What is new now is because we've now reduced the size of the building, because we're also trying to, increase the area, that pervious area. So we reduced the size of the building. And doing that forced us to create a basement, which will allow us to have a basement under the under the retail, as well as another little one just for the building itself. So this is just showing you what that layout is.
But in the parking area, it's still on grade, am I correct?
Yeah, the parking area is still on grade, but so this is what I was talking about in terms of the basement. So it's a cellar that allows the commercial space to have places to store things. So from one of those spaces, you can go down, get into the space. It's completely separated from the other side of that wall, which would be exclusively for the residential and for them to store, items in that space. So that's what we did.
So why did you have to create this cellar?
Because we needed space we have stairs, which is here, and everything is very tight when you come into the lobby. So in terms of, storing some stuff for maintenance
So where
and
was
stuff.
this space before? Was this in the parking area?
No, it wasn't there before.
It wasn't there? So-
Yes, yes.
So, not that it's an issue, but why did you have to create it?
Because, based on the way the building will function, you just need to provide, some storage spaces for the building maintenance, to store things to maintain the
Well,
building.
you didn't have that before?
Before it wasn't provided, yeah.
It wasn't provided?
Yeah, there was some spaces carved out, and because of that, it affected the parking. But once we started making changes to the parking layout to create the 5-foot, around the building that we now have, we didn't have that before. That squeezed everything down.
And
So,
before, the retail did not have storage?
no, it didn't. So it was for the betterment of the plan. So that's for the basement. And then on the first floor, before, we used to have the entrance. All this area used to be more towards the middle. But again, as I indicated at the beginning, some of the comments actually led to the building being better for the site. Because right now, the way it goes is we're still maintaining the entrance to the building here. Before, we used to have a lobby, small lobby, and very small area here. And by this change, we're also introducing a new, mechanical trash room area at the corner here, which is a nice sight. So that provides us the opportunity to do that. Now, you enter the building from here, from this area here, 2 sets of doors, and then we are providing area for package to be stored here. Elevator is here, and then from here you can go up to the units. Again, there's a separation between the residential component and the retail. So the wall here shows where the retail is. On the second level, again, parking, as testified by the civil, is self-explanatory. But one of the things I want to draw your attention to, because it was discussed before, is the area around the building. Right now, the plan is that, this is the profile of the building above, where my line is. So this is open to the elements, along here. So the building profile goes this way. So we have an opening here, and as well as on this side here. And what we've discussed also was that we are going to provide a low wall, which will run along from here, 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 and here. It will be 36 inches high. And the reason we are doing that is to prevent, spillage from light from from cars, to protect the neighbors.
So rain will go in there, in the garage?
In some areas of it, yes. In some areas, yes. Especially this area here. Because this is the outline of the building here, on this level. So, huh?
I'm sorry, so where the columns are? Right there, that's a column, right?
Yeah, that's a column here, yes.
So is that supposed to be at the property line, or is that supposed to be under the building?
Here it's under the building. This is all under the building. Property line is around here.
But you said where the dashed line is.
Is above.
Yeah, it's above on the second.
So what, the columns?
Okay, so at the garage level, you have a
Level.
ceiling.
Yeah, you have a
That's at
ceiling
the property
there.
line.
Yes.
But above
And
it,
then
on
above.
the next level, it's set in.
Yeah,
Where you get it.
yeah, yeah.
Where you won't get into the garage.
No, it won't, I'm
It has like
sorry.
a little road.
It has a little.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when I go to the second floor, we provided, balconies for the units on that area to be able to use that. So yes.
But
So,
Dan, it is open.
yeah,
Well,
They're-
the
they're-
wall is,
The
not the
wall's
ceiling.
open.
The
The ceiling's
wall's
not.
open,
Yes.
but it's not like water's going in
Yes.
behind the knee wall, right?
Right.
so that's that. So on the upper floors, I know one of the comments came, and this was something that we have to adjust on our plans. This only occurs on the second floor where you have the ability to have this balcony area for these 4 units. One here, one here, one here, and then this corner here.
And why is
That's
that?
it. Huh?
And why is that?
Because, we didn't see the need to continue it all the way up. We drop it back for all the other
Where's the
units.
balcony? Is the balcony just like, because what's the setback over there, like 5 feet?
Yeah, there's 5 feet
So it's
and,
like 5 feet looking at a wall,
Well-
a building.
yes, it is 5 feet away from the property line, that's currently there
But
now.
if I'm saying a person comes out the balcony, and they're gonna look at 5 feet across the building.
It's better to have that than not have
Like in
anything.
New York.
Is that any of these major cities, you can hang out there, depending on
Urban
what's
outdoors,
happening.
yes.
Does the balcony, is the balcony get calculated into the density? No?
No, there is no density.
It's a dead, it's a-
I don't know.
It's not an
There's
FAR
not
requirement.
we don't have floor area ratio and we don't have density.
That's not part of the administrative requirement.
But it would be building coverage or impervious coverage. What's this distance?
But this is already in storage.
So this plan is the second floor only.
Yeah, just second floor only. All the upper floors, again, you're familiar with the layout, basically, in terms of, the number of units we have, in terms of the layout, we are maintaining that. As I indicated, we've now introduced a corridor here, which was absent from the other design that we have. So based on doing that, we're able to provide windows for all the units. So we have,
Sorry, you said you didn't have a corridor before?
before, yes, sir. Yeah,
You didn't have a corridor?
we had a corridor, but it was not double loaded. Right now, we have double loaded corridor. It was just a single loaded corridor with the units. From the corridor, you go into the units. But now, because of the comments and, thanks for that, those comments, we're able to actually, create that, and that made the plan better, so. Again, this would be a combination of a 3-bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 1 bedrooms. They are sprinkled throughout the plan. So this is the second floor. On the upper floor.
Before we get to that, I just
Yeah.
want to make note, there's a trash room on that second floor as well as a laundry and 2 storage rooms, am I correct?
Yes, yeah.
Go on.
Okay. So on the upper floor, which would be, this floor here, this would be from floor 3 all the way up, Floor 3 and 4 basically is this, and then the 5th floor is where we then have the access to the roof. But again, the same layout, we are repeating from second floor
The
to the
building wall goes, the south facing the building wall goes up, your 3rd floor isn't set back or anything.
No, it's not set
It's the
back.
same as
Yeah,
the second
yeah,
floor, absent the balcony, right?
Yes. All we are doing is making use of the cover, the podium construction that we are going to do to carry it. So instead of just wasting it, we figure it makes sense to have tenants be able to be there, and enjoy the space. So the 4th floor, 3rd, 4th floor, all the same layout. 5th floor is also the same layout, except for the fact that on the roof, now we're creating a mezzanine for the roof area. That's the difference. Otherwise, these plans are pretty much, there's some interchange in terms of the 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms to make it work. So again, when we go to the top, which is the roof plan, we have the mezzanine area that we've created. Unlike the other plan, currently we have 7 mezzanine areas. And unlike the other plan, these are truly mezzanine in the sense that they open directly into the unit below. Before that wasn't what we did before. But this is much better plan because it will create a nice fill into the units.
So, like, does that mean, like, these mezzanine areas there's structures on the roof, right? They protrude.
Yeah, they protrude through the roof. Yeah, you can stand here and look down into the living room. Yeah, that's the whole point. So it's almost one contiguous space.
No, but I'm saying it's almost like a bulkhead, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So again, we have 7 of them, and for each of these mezzanine area, we've created an outdoor space for the tenants, which you can see here. So you come up these stairs, there's a low area here, then you go out, you can enjoy the sights. So each one has its own, and it's very individualized, so it's very, very, secure and separated. One of the other things we are doing is because we have these bulkheads now coming through the roof, what we try to do is put all the mechanical split system, which is similar to what was done in 700 Banks Avenue. We are going to hide them behind each of this wall. So on each of these, we're going to double them up. So there's 4 and then 2 sets of 4. So we have all that. As a matter of fact, we have some pictures we'll show you of the project that was recently done for 545 Lake, I believe. So
going back, the only walls then are around the mezzanine, right? Is that it?
yes,
Not the thick, when you say the void below.
yeah.
So you're looking down at what, the roof of the living?
Yeah, the mezzanine, you can stand the mezzanine
And look down.
into the living room.
So those
These?
yeah, are those walls?
Yes, they are wall that stick up from the roof.
They are.
Yeah, when we show you the elevations, you will see that.
It's a penthouse. It's
Yeah,
a penthouse that
penthouse.
extends from the
So it's
roof.
not just the blue area, the mezzanine area, it's the whole outlined area.
It's a penthouse that's outlined, you're in the mezzanine, but you're looking down.
You're
into
looking
the
down, it's
floor.
part of the space, you can, communicate with people down. So basically, on the roof level, we have the individual outdoor spaces for each of the, tenants. We also we're hiding the mechanical units as was done in all the other projects that Sykman has done here. And we've allotted 2 spaces for mechanical. One is here, and the other is here, around here. Now, because we have retail, we need to, take care of the retail in terms of heating and cooling. So we are providing an area here for that. And then in terms of the common area for the building, we also need to provide some mechanical, so we provided here. The reason I wanted to point this out to you is one of the issues is to just make sure that these things are not visible from the street. When I will show you the 3D model that we did of this, this here is the elevator bulkhead. So we have a mechanical unit, which will probably be about 36 high by, whatever the size of it is. So this will definitely cover that. We also have the walls of this mezzanine blocking any view of this. And then the other mechanical area we have is in this corner, way back here, way at the back of the building. So again, we located it here strategically because the stair wall and this penthouse, and as well as this one here, will block it. So everything is really blocked from view. So those are the plans. And what I want to also show you is, the big layout in terms of the units. As you can see, each of the units have windows. Again, this is 1 bedroom. You come in from here.
What type of windows are on the building?
What type of windows?
Yeah.
We're going to put in operable windows. Yeah.
Are they sliders or are they?
No. Well, we are still trying to, refine that, based on the design. Yeah.
In the split units, this is all electric building, right? Is it going to be?
Yes, for the most part, yes. That's my understanding. So it's going to be all electric, yes. So on this one, which is a 1 bedroom, bedroom is here. You have the window, living room is here. We have the kitchen, and then we have the ADA, bathroom that will meet the code that we need. In this next one here gives us a typical 3-bedroom, which we stack all the bedrooms along the back. Down here, you enter the unit from up here. They have a bathroom here. We've also provided a bathroom for this unit, the master bedroom. So you enter from here, there's a little bathroom for that. The closet is right here. So moving down to this unit here, this is the unit that's at the corner of the L. Remember I was showing you guys the balcony continues along here for those other units. So this building here, this unit here, we're able to provide a window for this bedroom as well as a window into the living room. So again, you enter from here, the kitchen is here, the bathroom is there. And then this is our typical 2 bedrooms, which, bedroom on each side. You come into the unit, again, everything opens up. There's a window that will be here, and then the kitchen is on this side. Again, this addresses the top floor in terms of how you get to it. From this unit, you get on the stair and you walk up the stair. So as you come up the stair, then you're gonna be here, and then you can look down into this area here, or you can go up to the outdoor terrace. So that's idea of what it is. So what we've done is just to give an idea of, because we're gonna present David is gonna present the exterior elevation, but I believe it's better to have a 3D image of what this looks like so that you can have a sense of context. For instance, you can see all the bulkheads from this mezzanine area. You can see that mechanical unit is gonna be way back here. The other one is gonna be in this corner here. And this is taking a view from way up, which in reality, if you're on the street, you will not see any of these things happening on top. The other area is the back area that we just discussed in terms of, what the building is doing. So this is that balcony area I was talking about. These are the columns, and this is the low wall that we are planning to put.
Now, what about between that low wall and the building itself that's on top of it? For security purposes, we're going to put something in there?
Yes, we're going to explore putting, and I think when you see the elevation, which David has done, very nice, you will see that we provided some grills, some kind of way to protect against that. But again, I think this gives a good view of that area, so it's very clear what we are trying to do. So again, there are the balconies here, parking will be down here, and this is the property line, so we're trying to stay away from it, as you can see in all this area here. And then we have the windows, and again, this would be an outdoor space for this unit here. This unit has its own, so that's all special. Again, this whole area will be the green roof that we are proposing to provide.
Green intensive.
Yeah, intensive, I should use that word, intensive roof that we are proposing to provide. I think in all, from my perspective, I think the comments are going through this process has made this building a much better building in terms of, reduce the density of it. It looks and feels good for the space. And my belief is sometimes design challenges pushes you to make something better than what, ordinarily we're planning to do. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, as far as the exterior design of the facade, we have an additional witness, David Bussinelli, who's testified previously. He'll provide all that testimony with regard to the exterior design of the building. But are there any further questions or any questions from the board, this witness?
So, sorry, go.
Well, I don't know who to ask, so what would happen, there's still the issue of the easternmost setback, which is still only, 5.5 feet. I mean, I think it's 3.5 feet in some spots, right, because the building shuts out.
Right.
There's a single-family home there. I mean, what happens if you push the building back more?
Push.
Push back, push west. In other words, if you respect a larger eastern yard setback?
Well, number one, I don't believe under the redevelopment plan, there's no required side yard over there, if I'm correct.
Right, but we're treating that side as the rear yard.
Well, I look at it, when you look at the building, it's actually a side yard. How you want to treat it, you may want to treat it differently, but legally, it's a side yard, it's zero. However,
Well, you gotta pick one, you have to pick a rear yard, you can't, no.
that's our side yard. So we have moved it off, all right, of the side of the building. But, everything is a trade-off, because if you're gonna decrease further the size of the building, then you're gonna lose all your parking down below that entire row, you're basically gonna lose. And it's the tail wagging the dog, because if you lose all that parking, then you're only gonna get, 15, 20 units in a building.
Well, no, you gotta build a smaller building.
And then you're not getting hardly any affordable also. We have a huge housing crisis going on.
Well,
Wait, let me just finish. The only way we're gonna deal with providing more housing, when you look at the redevelopment plans that have been enacted in the city, it's to increase housing, and to build housing, and to build affordable. The only way you're gonna accomplish that is to build buildings that can accommodate residential units like this and affordable units like this. Otherwise, you're not gonna accomplish it.
the meeting before was about affordable housing, so I think we have all the numbers on that, we do want to encourage it. But, there are things on the books to, meet what we have to meet in the near term. Yeah, I know, but on that, then, we just start building everywhere, disregarding what our
But we're not,
setbacks are,
because
and crowding, let me finish that, and crowding other people. There are a reason why there are setback rules. So I understand it's a give and take. That's what the board has to decide, what they want.
And there is, remember, the redevelopment plan for the Main Street redevelopment area was amended to accommodate this site. It was amended specifically for this particular site.
At the request of the owner.
Yes, and of course, and the city accommodated that. The mayor and council reviewed it, and they thought it made sense in order to build a building like this to amend the redevelopment plan and provide for it.
Did they get a eligible one for a long-term abatement on this?
We're not even up to a pilot at this point.
Well, I mean, with being.
And we wouldn't be able to do it, we wouldn't do it yet anyway until we had a building.
I
that was
understand
approved.
that. The question is, are you eligible under being the redevelopment plan?
Oh, absolutely. We'd be eligible to make an application for it. Whether or not the city grants it is another issue. But certainly, because we're in the redevelopment plan, we are eligible for it.
I'm sorry, Don.
Guys, I actually have a follow-up question about that. So in best case scenario, if we do count the eastern side as a side yard, Donna, my understanding in the Main Street redevelopment plan is if the buildings are unattached, you need a minimum of 5 feet of a side yard. Is that right? Thank you.
Yes.
And Donna, I know you had questions.
So they don't require variance then? Or design section for this rear yard?
For the rear yard, we do.
So is it a rear yard or a side yard?
Which way
We
you
have
looking?
looked at the site because it's two frontages, right? Monroe and Main are both front. So then you pick one side, one rear. We've applied the rear to the easterly property line because it abuts the single-family residence. It affords them a greater setback opportunity to the land that's not in the redevelopment area. That single-family house isn't in the redevelopment area. I don't know, does the board have the choice?
I'm a corner property, and I know, my rear yard is my backyard, is
Right.
in the rear of it, right?
Right, but the thing is, so because this is an L-shaped lot, there are more, legs to apply sides and rears to.
So oftentimes, your rear is the deeper portion of the lot, and your front, or your sides are your narrow portion of the lot, in a lot of ordinances. I'm actually not sure what it says in the redevelopment area in
It doesn't.
Main Street. But is there any buffer requirement between the zones?
No.
And in any event, it would require a variance whether it's a rear or a side, so you have to decide if it's appropriate, right?
Correct.
Because the building, I think, at its corners, at that L corners, they go out. I think the corner units, they jut out, the building units, right?
No,
Well, I don't know.
no.
Where is
I
it?
don't-
Does that not show- Does that not show them jutting out there?
Oh, you mean from, okay,
Easterly
yeah.
side?
Yeah, okay, I see what we,
Oh, there's a jog
no,
in the
we
building.
put in, we
Yes.
pushed it in, we pushed in.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, it's 5.2 at its widest, and 3.2 at those jut-outs. You know, I mean, that's kind of close to somebody who has a single-family home on the other side.
Yeah, at this point, we are, on the second floor, fourth floor, fifth floor up. Here, remember now we have the first level where the parking is. So the single family home is in that area. And then when you go up, and the reason we pulled this back also to allow us, because there's a,
Does it pull back above the first, above the second
No.
floor pulls back on the easterly side?
no, this goes back a little bit. And we did that because per code, when you look at the building code, there's a percent opening that we have to be aware in order to.
I'm looking at sheet A1.2, right? So you have measurements, this is the second through fourth floor, right?
Yeah,
So when I see at the widest part, when it says 5.2, 5 feet 2 inches, is that to the property line of the second floor?
yes,
So where is it now? What's the width over there on the first floor?
The parking lot.
The parking
the
lot.
parking lot, yeah, parking lot is there, yeah,
You just said on the easterly edge of the building,
yes.
does the second floor set back? Does the second through fourth floor set
Now,
back?
look at A1.1, it's consistent with A1.2. Look at, you can see the exterior wall right there that follows.
Actually, so it
There's a
seems
candle.
like the second floor, the ground floor is in more the parking, and the second through fourth floor,
At the northeast corner.
at the northeast, listen, it says line of exterior wall up above. I'm just going by your,
Yeah.
if you go to A1.2, I mean, these are your measurements.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? It says 5 feet
Right.
2 inches from the second floor. So is the first floor less than 5 feet 2? Or is it the same, or is it bigger? You gotta tell me.
The second floor. Let me zoom.
Yeah, right
out.
up in the northeast corner
Yeah,
there,
here.
right there where it says line of the second floor above or whatever.
Yeah,
So
here.
that's the part that sticks out more?
Yes,
And that's
and
3
then it
point,
goes
But the
back.
rest of
and
it
that's
is in line.
3, yeah, that's
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
feet 2 inches, am I
Yeah,
correct?
yes, in that area, but on the first floor is back.
No, it is. Well,
Yes,
Yeah, on the first floor, it's
It's
back
back.
Yeah, it's
to
here,
5 feet
feet.
Okay.
2 inches.
I understand, but the second or fourth floor now.
Yeah,
Now they have a great view right into the windows, right into the person's backyard, so it's even closer.
it's a little bit, bit more,
It's
yeah, so that's what we are.
No, that's correct. I
Okay.
mean, otherwise, you lose all that parking, you lose your storage room, you push the entire building in, and you're gonna basically lose all your parking, you're not gonna be able to build the building to accommodate the house and that's needed.
That's like the same story with every project.
So-
For a variance.
Any question? So with that said, I will bring the,
Wait, before you go.
So let's go through.
Oh, I'm
Question
sorry.
about, where are the utility meters?
hold on. They're going to be in the storage. How did I end up with this?
Yeah, the trash/utility.
So they will all be interior?
Yes, that's what we are looking at now. And then again, based on our discussion, once we get going and talk to the utility company. We will see what makes sense. Maybe we can put something in the basement area, we can, work out with them what the best scenario is. I'm sorry, I just by mistake.
And do we want to go through the CCH report with this witness, or?
Yeah,
Let's have a follow-up to your question, but I'm just waiting for the
Sure. Okay, yeah, that's it.
So on the parking level,
Yeah,
you have the mechanical room, and you're thinking that you're gonna have, the trash enclosure there as well?
yes, that's the plan.
So what's the square footage of that room?
It's about 521 square foot.
And if you have utilities in there, meters in there, how is that gonna impact the area that's gonna be utilized for trash?
Well, the plan is that the trash is gonna be coming up in this corner here, because we have a chute, right?
Okay.
So everything comes down, it's compacted, and then it's some of them will be stored here. Again, we're gonna talk to the utility company and the engineer to figure out, bringing some utilities in this area, or also going in the basement area, like I said, provides us another opportunity to use some of these areas, depending on where the utility company may say they would like to come in from here. So in that case, the seller will be impacted.
All right, is there a concern with the minimum square footage of that trash enclosure if there's meters in there as well?
You're asking me, I mean, that, the utility, like you said, the utility company's gonna have to weigh in on that.
Yeah.
Well, but there's a minimum square footage required for the trash room,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So we gotta make sure that,
Yeah, but the meters are up on the wall.
So if you,
They don't
so when
take
you
up
look at
a lot
the
of
floor
space.
plan of the floors above, there's 108 square foot trash room on each floor
On
that
each
lines
floor.
up over that space next to the stairs and the ground floor.
right,
So, we haven't gotten a whole lot of testimony about how the trash room works,
So,
but, they're gonna fill it up from the chute. There's building management, they're gonna fill the totes. The problem being that in most of these, we usually have private pickup. They've testified that it's gonna be public pickup, so they may not get the frequency they need based on the area that they have for storage. So that's the one potential disconnect for that.
And recycling is going in there too?
Sure.
yeah.
So how does the recycling work? Does it go down the chute, does it?
Yeah, we're gonna provide,
2 chutes?
we're gonna provide 2 chutes, but we're gonna talk to, we're gonna coordinate the final layout with the engineer as well as the owner. Maybe, again, building management, maybe since we have the trash room big enough, maybe put a receptacle here for you to put your recycle and just throw the normal chute down. That's something that needs to be worked out with the building maintenance.
Are each of the individual units going to be having a separate meter?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
And along the lines of your discussion then, how many square feet does each meter require? And how much,
Meters.
I understand, okay. And how far apart can they be? Are you gonna
Right
put
next
in
to each
a multi-pan,
They're right next to each
multi-meter
other,
pan?
all in a group.
Yeah, they're all on the group. And again, we work with the utility company. They'll guide us on how they want it to be done.
I mean, it's just whether there's other utility infrastructure that also needs to be accommodated in that room. Electric meters, there's a lot of them, but they're not gonna be more than will fit in that space. It's just whether they're, do they need an external transformer? Do they also need, is there a separate mechanical room, sprinkler room?
Yeah,
Is that also gonna be in there, or is that in a different, where's the sprinkler room?
that would be worked out with our engineer once we get them on board. We
So
do-
that would be the only other concern. It's like, what
Yeah.
other utilities really need that space? What else is it competing with?
Yeah, and the basement space gives that additional space to be able to work with. There's flexibility with that cellar area that's being created in front of the structure.
Well, unfortunately, on the plan, the room is not dimensioned. Yes, it gives an overall square footage, but it is very difficult to visualize.
Well, you don't know, it depends upon the utility company, and they won't talk to a developer until you're getting into it in terms of where it's gonna go. I mean, you can have the greatest plans in the world, you want it to go there, but
Yes.
it's all dependent upon the utility company.
And my concern is not about where the meters are, it's what those meters have, what's the impact of those meters on the trash.
Exactly.
That's-
How much space will be required for those meters? I mean, you look at any of these buildings and you look at a meter room and, you know, it gets pretty crowded very quickly. And usually they're mounted on the walls. That takes away from your trash storage because you can't have a.
Well, so the interior of the trash room is 20 feet. That wall that faces Monroe is 20 feet long. So if it's, you know, say even if it was 18 inches per meter, I mean, you could do 4 rows of, you know, 5 meters. No, wait, more than that. I mean, so, but I'm just saying, there's just one wall on the far side that could probably accommodate 60 meters. And it's only a 52 unit, you know, development. And then you still have all that floor area. So again, unless it's got to compete with some other mechanical or utilities like sprinkler, there's probably enough room for electric and trash.
You're saying, I assume the compacting machinery is gonna be in that room?
Yes, so they will have to, we'll have
How
to,
big is that?
the idea is that it will drop in here, it will probably extend maybe 4, 5 feet, 6 feet out. You know, there are different types that is made.
I mean, they're
We
not
just
small,
have to,
right?
yeah, they're not small, but we are gonna research it and, you know, work it out with
Keep
the
in mind, they
manufacturer.
have, you know, they own numerous buildings here, residential buildings. They have a lot of experience dealing with recycling, trash, making sure the electrical meters where they have to be. The building obviously has to accommodate that, and they have experience in doing that, and making sure the trash is handled appropriately, and they do.
So like, you know, you mentioned the other building, it's like you did in the other building. and you said about spaces.
Shoulder banks, yeah.
So is that having sort of the same setup, a trash utility room of similar size and compacting? And
It's,
it's worked out okay?
yeah, that one is a little bit different if I recollect. I don't think, yeah, I've just been told, I don't think,
Well, it isn't like you said,
yeah.
experience.
yeah, we probably won't have a compactor from what I'm hearing from, you know, we just.
If necessary, we can bring up additional testimony just to go through.
Yeah,
But
just-
the area that we have is more than sufficient.
Yeah.
Any other questions for this witness?
Okay, so I do have a question about how the green roof works, because the architectural plans say, look at the civil drawings, and the civil drawings don't have those design components. So you're saying this back corner, the southeast corner of the green roof, somehow is draining to the northwest corner of the building to go down some imaginary pipe to go outside to that manhole? Is that right?
Yes, as testified, the overall building is being picked up in this corner and, you know, will go out. I mean, once this is designed, fully designed, we can pick up, you know, rain, you know, from this area, we can go through here and collect everything and then run down. There are
Well,
several.
So my concern
Yeah. Mhm.
is, how is the interior of the building?
Mm-hmm.
And so is it only gonna be in that one corner? Are there multiple
I think-
outlets? Are
I
there
think
scuppers?
that's
Are there,
an
what are we talking
engineering-
about as far as,
I think that's a question we should have been asked to the engineer.
Yeah.
When
That's,
when he was testifying.
We did. It was, the question was, the whole roof is draining out through that pipe. We said yes.
on the inside of the building? So I wanna know, where is it inside the building? Because I don't see it on any of the floor plans where you would have drainage pipe from the roof down to the grade, below grade. Are you
Yeah, that-
accommodating that?
Yeah, that will probably be something that will be worked out during design in terms of, collecting all the water and how you exit the
Where all the piping
building.
is gonna go, that's all your
Yeah, the
your
building,
construction drawings.
yeah. Plumbing engineer will be involved with that decision making, whether we pick them up here and run it out, and then collect everything underneath the building and then run to one corner. Those are the things you
Yeah,
do
similar
during
to
design.
All your plumbing, that's your construction drawings have all that detail.
Yeah.
If you're. I just want to tie in the discussion we had earlier with the engineer about the width of the drive aisle and the parking.
Okay.
Is that foot gone? Can that foot be recovered? Can that drive aisle be 22 and a half feet wide instead of 21 and a half?
Let's go back to
Not that I don't believe you.
81.1.
Yeah, I think. Let me see. Well, before this parking was right on here. We know we have to put columns here. You have to construct for it. So I don't think we can regain that 12 inches.
That's where the foot went.
Yeah, it's part of
What
it.
was it in the last iteration where there were no columns?
There was columns, but what we did was it was not properly taken into consideration. The fact that
Gotcha.
yeah. But now that we're looking at it, we know it's gonna be carrying 4 stories of building, so we gotta make provisions for it.
So the drive aisle will be 21 and a half.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the drawings before didn't have the correct column?
No, the columns were there, but it wasn't, it wasn't quite accurate. So we've now, talked to the, structural engineer some more, so we can, make sure that that's, covered up as part of the plan.
All right, so I just want to go back to the drainage. So there will not be any exterior roof scuppers or downspouts, drainage structures on the outside of the building?
Yes, we can work all that in within the units, on the exterior
That's what we
wall.
wanna know.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you going to discuss the CCH report or someone else?
The CCH report basically deals with the exterior design of the building, and that'll be covered by a different witness.
How about, who's going to testify about the affordable units, the
Our
locations?
planner, the planner.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any more questions for this witness?
I just have one, it's kind of a general question. In your design, you've asked for a lot of design waivers, yet you don't seem to address the recommended, the recommendations of the UEZ.
That's exterior design. That's the next witness.
Okay. Fair enough, thank you.
And Donna, you're comfortable leaving your report for the next witness?
I was just
Just skimming?
But I think so. Most of it is gonna
Exterior.
be, materials and
Colors.
colors and finishes.
It feels curious to me that the person, the architect who's determining the interior layouts wouldn't also be the one to testify about why the unit numbers. We need testimony from this witness saying that it was impossible to comply with the right unit profile, right? Because
What do you mean?
you are dealing with the interior layouts of the spaces, right? How many bedrooms are within each unit, how the floors lay out. And I will I think I think the outcome of those interior layouts in this design is far more successful than what we've seen previously, but if you're responsible for the interior layouts, then why is the planner the only one testifying to the inability to meet the ideal distribution? I'm trying to, I don't know.
I don't
if I'm saying that.
understand the question.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the
I mean, the affordability.
Yeah, so the affordability,
You gotta get certain
the
requirements, which we will.
affordability has to have a certain profile.
It
right?
will. And we're gonna have the planner testify as to the profile for the affordable units.
But the planner's report says it doesn't meet
She's right.
the ideal, okay,
She's
so.
right, and we're gonna revise that, we're gonna have our planner testify to that. She's correct in terms of the one bedrooms,
Correct.
but we haven't gotten to that.
So, but those interior layouts are being set by this witness.
We're gonna have to switch a one and a two.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
but apparently they know something we don't yet.
It's not a matter of, we
As
read
long
the
as
report,
they-
it's not a matter of knowing something that you don't know yet. We read the report, we haven't gotten to it yet. She's right, that there's an additional one bedroom, so we'll swap a one and a two.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not that they don't have the number of units to be able to do it.
Yeah,
That's my point.
That's what
Okay,
they're gonna
I just wanted
They
to-
have the units.
Right, but-
So they have to do it.
To Mr. Gallipo's point, you know, the idea that you could change a one-bedroom unit to a two-bedroom unit in the space that you just said has to be the space that we have,
No, we take a one bedroom.
would seem
And make
to
it market,
be the
and you take
jurisdiction
a
of the
two, and you make it
architect.
affordable.
It
Not the
just,
planner.
it just feels like that testimony is more related to
You're
expertise.
overcomplicating this. You take a
The
one
expertise,
bedroom, you make it
right.
affordable, you take a two, and you make it market
So-
rather, and you take a two and you make it affordable.
Okay, so who's gonna testify to signage?
The exterior,
Also,
David, yeah,
Businelli, okay.
yeah. So,
What's that? Is there anything else from our professionals or from the board? Dan, did you have something else? All right, motion to open for public questions for this witness.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor? Excellent. We have 20 minutes left. Do you think we can get through one more witness?
Well, let's utilize the time. Dave.
Dave, your turn. You got this.
Swear or affirm that the testimony about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And if you could just state your name and spell your last name correctly.
David Businelli, Businelli.
You're testifying as an architect?
Yes, I am.
And I believe he was qualified previously in this application.
Any questions, objections, or qualifications?
Please.
David, you're familiar with this application, am I correct?
Yes, I am.
And you've been here before testifying with regard to the exterior facade and exterior layout of this property, am I correct?
Yes.
And you've come up with a redesign of the plans with regard to the exterior elevations, am I correct?
Yes.
All right, what I'm going to do is take a look at what you have up on the board, and I'm going to have that and identified as A15 for identification. And we have a last revision date of 9/30/23 on that, am I correct?
That's right.
Why don't you go through the revision?
Was this next around that room?
This is, I was gonna say, is this what I,
This is no.
yeah, so I just handed this out.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone knows. Sorry.
Okay, so the material selection is, the same as it was for the last version. With the main facade materials on the Monroe Avenue and Main Street facades being a copper anodized aluminum panel and a composite panel known as truss palmettian in a Belgian bluestone texture and color. We can pass those around if you want to get the look and feel of them.
Yes, we can mark that.
The other materials,
A16.
A16 will be the
These are two
copper.
stop.
This is, so the copper is going to be copper anodized tri-design. And A17 is the Crespa natural slate. Malt rock.
The other primary material for the building facade on the upper stories is a fiber cement panel in a blue color to allude to what would be a weathered blue cedar look to address the house next door, which is bluish in color, a classic for the Jersey Shore. And for the base of the building, we have a charcoal colored thin brick, samples of which I don't have. The color scheme was derived by having to have something colorful, something a little bit different, and complementary colors. These are colors that you would see at the Jersey Shore, in the sand, in sunsets, in the old wood buildings, the old wood clapboard buildings, anything with silver, with cedar. Oh, right here,
It's coming along.
right here.
Donna has it.
Well, so I just wanted to
Oh, so it's there.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's two different blues, so we're going complementary colors, opposite ends of the color wheel. The pop-ups, the mezzanines, created in a really good articulation of the roof line, so that it's not just a flat roof, okay? The copper is used as a band across the entire top of the parapet. As you can see, it circles the building, right? And you can see how it ties everything in. It's also at the base, the top of the base, above the brick. The corner, the way Obi designed the floor plan is, it's not in the same plane, so it's recessed slightly, right? So that the corner stands out a little bit the way the plan was designed, and you can see how this pops in on the south side. We also had addressed this area as a place for a public artwork if necessary, and I did use the image from City Hall as a placeholder because I thought it was pretty cool, and we just put it on there just to indicate that if there's going to be a public artwork, that would be a place for it to be.
And that would go before the Arts Commission for that, am I correct?
Yes. While these buildings are not
And
the
that's an
buildings.
option, or that's definitely part of the application?
That's part of the application.
Well, these buildings that we show adjacent are not the buildings that are there. They're there to show scale, right, because those are existing two-story buildings. And this building right here, well, certainly not the building that exists, is again shown as that height for scale. You can see that we have the openings into the garage along the street frontage of Monroe, protected with, at least at this point, a perforated metal panel. The previous version, there was some kind of a screen, a metal screen that was almost a tree shape. But, that's subject to further design and consideration.
And we're open to a suggestion on that, correct?
Absolutely. In terms of signage, let me blow this up a little bit.
Depending on the light, look at it, like that.
Yeah.
And you turn, it's,
There it is. Yep. The signage on Monroe was limited to an address sign to the right of the entryway, and that is 20 square feet-ish, 20.25 square feet in this particular drawing. And on the next sheet, the signage on the retail side, 2 individual signs over each retail store each one being 16 square feet attached to the storefront.
Are they
Here.
just signboards, are they?
Yeah, they're subject to further design, but they could be very thin, and they could be either LED or neon, illuminated, or not, depending on recommendations. We're fine either way. We've shown the lighting sconces per the engineering plan.
Is that temporary, that it's gonna be 2 stores, it's gonna be 1 store?
Well, it's set up to be subdividable, whether it be 2 or 1.
Now, there was a comment with regard to the knee wall around the
Yeah.
bottom of the building.
We have shown the knee wall, so it's no longer floor to ceiling. I mean, the floor to ceiling glass, because it'll go right down to the slab or to the sidewalk, so we have shown the knee wall.
The bulkhead, is that?
Right, the bulkhead, yeah.
I'm sorry,
What's the height gonna be?
18 inches? 19 inches, yes, thank you. Yeah, 19 inches.
The plans that you're reviewing, how many pages are
There's 4.
there? Only 4?
Yeah.
Is that, I don't see these on the plans that we have.
And above the knee wall, you might have already said this, above the knee wall, it's bars?
No, it's glass.
And is that clear glass?
It's clear glass.
Retail, but you're talking about the parking.
On the parking
Yeah, he's talking
level.
about the retail.
Well, we're talking about we're talking about the bulkhead / knee wall at the
Sorry,
retail.
I'm jumping around, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
We're here, not here yet.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So the bulkhead is just a solid panel,
Yeah.
opaque, whatever, not, is it gonna be glass or is it gonna be aluminum?
No, it could, the bulkhead could be either aluminum or it could be masonry and then finished with the same thin brick to wrap around.
Okay, I guess I'm asking, what is it going to be? I don't.
So what are we proposing?
Don't give us
that
a
it
choice, tell us what it is.
Okay, well, it could be, well, it'll be part of the storefront. It'll be part of the storefront material, aluminum.
Okay.
So like, where is the brick going that you don't have with you? Where is that?
Right here. Here.
Where are the post holes, just to make the bulkhead with the post holes, the same material?
Well, I mean, you can build it up, but we can buy storefront material with bulkhead panels.
Well, what is the material on the knee wall? What's-
We're proposing right now that we could just get the storefront built and fabricated with that knee wall.
The
And you
aluminum.
said it's gonna
The
be
aluminum.
19 inches.
19 inches.
Okay. And what's the material? Is it gonna be?
It'll
the
be aluminum, it'll be aluminum like the storefront.
Okay.
Consistent with other storefronts?
Yes.
However, your rendering shows it as something else, correct?
Right, but if we do it as a bronze anodized aluminum, it will tie into the brick.
Okay, so it's going to be aluminum, anodized aluminum.
Yes.
And so the rendering is not correct.
Well, color-wise, it's similar.
I
There's
thought
no
you just told
color
me it's gonna be
specified
bronze,
on-
aluminized, anodized.
Right, it's very close in color to the brick.
Why don't you increase the size of that?
Sure.
So we can see it.
Your rendering shows it to be a black knee wall. And I assume that on page
Yeah, so when you look at it, you focus in, it's not black.
Right. Right, when you look at bronze anodized aluminum, it has more of that, it's not quite black.
Okay, here's a sample you gave us of the aluminum.
Right, but that's a different.
But
we're
that's a
talking about
different part of the building.
Different aluminum.
You
So
testified that's a
you're
different part
saying
of the
that
building.
what we have here is not what you're proposing?
No, wait.
That's the main body of
That
the
is
building, right
the-
here.
That's a different part of the building. That's the copper part of the building.
Okay.
What he's talking about is the storefront right now.
Okay, and we don't have the color scheme for the storefront here on
It's right-
sheet.
It's right here.
A101.
Normally, I've never been here, we brought in samples of storefront materials. Well, he's testifying to what the storefront is gonna be.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Right, those materials are for the main body of the building, which will be here and here.
So your opinion as an architect?
Yeah.
What should it be? I mean, do you think it should be the same as that charcoal brick, or close to it, or what?
It's good to get, if you could get it all fabricated as one storefront with the bulkhead and just pop it into the opening, I think that's fine. I think it's fine. They're insulated.
In your opinion as
Yeah, I think I think it'll be fine. They're insulated, they're durable, they're easy to maintain.
Can you just clarify, what does it say on the back of that sample for the,
The Crespo.
not the copper one?
An actual slate.
So is it gonna be natural slate or Belgian bluestone?
No, it's gonna be Belgian bluestone. It's a
Okay, so
very
that's-
similar
so
than
that's-
that, so that should be just
Alright, so-
marked Belgian bluestone.
Okay.
So
that's not the right color.
That's none of the.
It's very similar. I'm sorry, I thought I brought the bluestone.
But this is the
material.
material, am I correct?
That's the material, not so much the color, yeah. It's definitely Trespa
It's
Medion,
not the color.
not the exact color. My apologies.
And then copper aluminum is, when I'm looking at the elevation drawing, it's basically this brownish body of the building.
That's correct. So if you look at the actual, the rendering, which is on, right, it renders a lot better in this model.
Does it keep it colored, its color all the time?
Yeah, yeah. The anodization process makes it very, very doable. No, it's not like if it was a painted finish, you would see a notable wearing over the years.
Or real copper.
And actually, if you get,
Turns green.
well,
You're making money on that.
you could actually do natural copper, and there's a process that prevents it from going green and oxidizing. And I've seen that there's a courthouse, St. George's, Staten Island, that has the copper that's treated that way. It hasn't worn out, it hasn't oxidized yet.
Okay,
So
and
since we're approaching 10 o'clock, I wonder if it might be good for us to, we're obviously not going to finish this application tonight, if it would be good for us to put together a list of things that we still need further testimony on and things that we need brought back. So,
And I don't know if it's worth it to give any preliminary thoughts on this color scheme.
I was
or-
actually thinking if we want to give preliminary thoughts kind of about this exterior of the building before we do that.
Yeah.
Eric, if you want to give some preliminary thoughts, go ahead.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the color palettes that we had on the previous design and the kind of treatment of the ground, floor, garage spaces was more successful. I mean, that's just the only way I can put it. And I feel like the samples that were passed around, the two primary, the gray and the copper color, seem very close. And so, I don't think we would get the nice contrast that was the feature of the previous design. I'm looking at the planner's report where you have all three of them listed.
granted, the image that's in the report is different than
Correct, yeah.
what we've been given tonight.
Yeah.
Do you like the copper?
I'm not gonna say I don't like it or I like it, but my reaction is actually to like, wait. I don't know. It doesn't. I feel like this facade is gonna end up looking very monotonous, and that's what everybody's gonna experience because you're walking right by it. The storefront, I think these lights and panels that you've got would be protruding past the property line because the building is built on the property line. And it just feels like there isn't enough contrast to, I don't know, I feel like the previous color palette and patterning was more successful. And then my third thing is, I feel like the best location for public art would be at the facade level, or at the pedestrian level on this side, rather than on a spot that could potentially get covered up at some later point, where we would lose the actual work of art, which is an investment.
I think that's great. Does anybody else have any other thoughts for this witness before we summarize? My only other one was, we had talked at the DRC and at some of the previous meetings about articulation on this Monroe Avenue facade, and I know there's one notch kind of right close to Main Street, but beyond that, it seems like there's a good maybe 200 feet without any articulation, which I know we've talked about before, and it seems like it's just missing. So something that I think, again, we've seen in previous iterations and don't see in this one, and I think it, again, was more successful with some articulation.
It might be more difficult now, though, because of the way the building is
Yeah.
not covering as much as the lot, so it's harder to make those articulations, which is why I think the color is going to be what gives it that sense of relief.
That's fair.
Up and down that 200 feet. There may be points at which you want to carry the color palette down all the way to the ground to like break up that, just the colors or
Yeah.
something. It just needs a little bit of work. It should be vibrant, exciting, joyful.
All right, I'm going to try to summarize some of the things that we need brought back, and my list is certainly not exhaustive, so if I miss anything, people please jump in. We wanted an updated landscaping plan with Carex around the parking lot. We need more details about the green roof planting. Yep.
Slow down.
Sorry. More details about the green roof planting mix. We needed the calculations, including the green roof for the runoff, post-development runoff rates. And if we're not below the pre-development runoff rates, a potential solution for getting those down. We wanted to see an updated lighting plan, reducing the number of foot candles along the open south side of the garage. Need more testimony about trash and recycling handling. The planner still needs to testify about the distribution of affordable units. And I think we're going to need more information about signage as well, more specifics about signage. Anything else?
If I could add one thing, that a couple plans were submitted as exhibits, if they could be made part of the plan set, just to keep it simple.
Great.
The
Just with the
planner's
updated dates.
report addresses several other issues, and they need to be addressed at the next hearing.
What's that?
The planner's report.
Yeah, we didn't get to the CCH report today. Anything else?
You know, one other thing while we're talking about it, on the storefronts, the doors to those units are flush with the sidewalk and open out. Some thought should be given to recessing those doors so that they don't open out past the property line.
Anything else? Anything from our professionals? All right, so looks like we're gonna try to carry. We do motion first, or do you get another date first?
Well, motion carried to a particular date.
Okay. So,
Donna, do you have access to? Yeah, I do.
If we are looking at revisions, the earliest date I just
Yeah, hang on, I'm opening it. I'm opening it.
And we're looking at December. Right now, we're booked.
Because we have fewer dates.
Yeah, December 4th looks like it's the next open one.
If all revisions can be finished and submitted to us by October 30th, with today being the 2nd.
Is that right?
That's what it says in here. For the 12th, for December 4th, we need everything by 10:30.
November 6th, I think.
What is it, 28 days?
Well,
4 weeks.
Because it doesn't have to be deemed complete. We're in the resubmit.
Yeah,
so-
4 weeks would be in November.
November 6th.
Yeah.
Right.
okay,
Okay.
so would that work?
Which gives you guys a month to generate plans.
You agree to an extension of time? Can I get a motion to carry this application to December 4th
Without further notice.
without further notice?
Move to carry without further notice.
A second.
We're gonna move it.
December 4th, 2023 at 7 PM, correct?
Resubmission by 11/6.
Motion was made by Jen. Second.
Jen?
By Jen. And that's carried. One thing,
Yes.
Eric Alba,
Yes.
Jim Henry,
Yes.
John Moore,
Yes.
Daniel Shinameo, Jen Souter,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mike Noonan.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.